Our MC grew up in a quiet temple alongside a kind monk and a little girl named Kim Zena. But trust me, you and I are about to see this happy family get completely destroyed today. The very first thing Kim Giang sees coming home, the master lying face down on the ground. Sitting right next to him is some mystery guy in a torn red cloak, his back turned to our MC. Hearing footsteps behind him, the stranger slowly turns his head around. Kim Giang and Kim Zena freeze in absolute horror, their whole world basically shattering right in front of their eyes. The red-cloaked man stands up looking totally panicked. "Master, I swear I had nothing to do with this." He really wants to explain himself a little bit more. But Kim Giang is already swinging his baseball bat with pure killer intent, forcing the mystery guy to dodge hard. "Kim Zena, run!" he screams. "What about you, big bro?" she cries back. "Hurry up!" Kim Giang yells again, while Zena is basically on the verge of tears. But she knows staying won't help at all. She would only be dead weight in a fight like this. So she finally forces herself to turn and run, leaving Kim Giang completely alone here. Just him against this masked guy, with the master lying there. Who knows if he is even still alive? Tension is off the charts. Who is this guy and what exactly does he want with their temple? What on earth happened to the master, and is there any chance he can still be saved? Watch closely here, his head is spinning with questions and things are about to get crazy. But right now, there is only one single thing he needs to focus on. He has to take down this guy in red immediately. Luckily, the stranger doesn't seem to be holding any weapons and our boy is seriously skilled with that baseball bat. "Damn it!" the stranger suddenly curses out loud. "I want to explain everything to you, but I am completely out of time right now. When I saw this, I am so genuinely sorry that it had to end like this." Suddenly, a blinding golden stone appears right in his hand, emitting a light so incredibly bright that it leaves Kim Giang completely dazed. The bat in his hands unconsciously drops just a little bit. At that exact moment, the man suddenly dashes straight at him with insane lightning speed, smashing the hand holding that glowing stone right into the dead center of his chest. At this super close range, he finally gets a clear look at the guy's face. "Kim Giang, go find Aina." He is even more shocked hearing this. "Because even with the white hair, I know you see it too, that face is exactly identical to his own." Right after that, space itself literally shatters open. The ground beneath his feet completely vanishes and Kim Giang falls backward into the void. Pure panic takes over his entire body, leaving him totally speechless. And his consciousness slowly starts fading away into the absolute dark. When Kim Giang finally wakes up, the very first thing that hits his eyes is a literal human skull next to a massive centipede. Korea's most promising young athlete lets out a deafening scream, scrambling backward as fast as he possibly can in pure terror. Staring at a literal human skeleton? Yeah, anyone would be freaking out. But the bigger problem is he has zero clue where he is, only knowing that he just dropped into somewhere seriously bizarre and dangerous. Kim Giang reaches his hand back, trying to push himself off the dirty ground, but he accidentally touches something weird, making him quickly turn his head around. He spots a strange golden cocoon wrapping tightly around some kind of grotesque larva, with these gross blood vessel looking things anchoring it firmly to the ground all around it. And it is not just one cocoon, they are literally growing in massive clusters everywhere. There are dozens of these nasty nests all around where he landed. He seriously just wants to swear right now. Staring at this absolute nightmare fuel, before he can even figure out what to do, the closest cocoon suddenly cracks wide open. Out rushes a fully formed creature that looks like a spider but way more aggressive. Trust me, you and I are gonna want to see how he survives this madness. Stick with me here. Hear that cracking? More of these absolute nightmare creatures are breaking out. And every single one of them is glaring right at Kim Giang with pure, unexplained killer intent. In this absolute madness, his mind is screaming. Just one single question: what in the world is actually happening right now? These bizarre, twisted creatures clearly have one goal in mind: attack Kim Giang. Proving it, one of the monsters suddenly leaps right onto his arm. It completely stabs its razor-sharp tail deep into his flesh. Kim Giang lets out an agonizing, ear-piercing scream. He frantically shakes the clinging bug right off his body. But the damage is done. It looks like he was just hit with deadly venom. The wound swells up into a dark purple, with his veins bulging terribly. And Kim Giang can literally feel his arm burning up like it is on fire. He has zero clue what these monstrous bugs actually are. But he knows one thing for sure: if he stays frozen, he is definitely going to die. Looking around in a total panic, he spots his baseball bat lying right there with him. Ignoring the pain, he immediately rushes over and grabs his bat. Now pay close attention here. A simple sports bat isn't much, but in this nightmare, is the only weapon keeping him alive. With every single violent swing, Kim Giang manages to smash away the swarming bugs. But there are just way too many of them. He absolutely cannot fight off this entire swarm all by himself. Staying here to fight will only drain his stamina completely. Kim Giang has no choice but to escape this place immediately. So he instantly starts running for his life. And of course, the monstrous bugs relentlessly chase after him. He just keeps running are surrounded entirely by damp rock walls. He honestly has absolutely no idea where he even is right now. It is not until he reaches a deep pool of water that Kim Giang realizes he is trapped inside a massive underground cave. The deadly swarm is right behind him. With zero places left to run, he leaves it all to fate and dives right into the water. Luckily, his gamble pays off. Those freaky bugs absolutely hate water. But literally a split second later, a sudden sharp pain shoots straight up from his legs. Something terrifying in the water is ruthlessly tearing into his bare flesh. But of options, Kim Giang desperately scrambles ashore. 4 or 5 absolutely disgusting leech-like monsters, armed with mouthfuls of razor-sharp teeth, are already sinking their jaws deeply right into his flesh. Kim Giang completely grits his teeth in pure, unimaginable agony. You and I are probably wondering the exact same thing. What kind of hellish monster world is this? He has literally spent his entire life just playing baseball, so he has never seen or even heard of crazy things like this before. At this point, he's not even totally sure if he is still inside the normal world he used to live in. While frantically feeling around his pockets, Kim Giang accidentally touches a very strange object. Looking closely, it is the tiny doll that Kim Zena made for him, but now it is completely torn up with the stuffing falling out. Why in the world is this here? When did this even get inside my pocket? Kim Giang mutters to himself. Some sort of lucky charm? Yeah, right. Because so far he has only experienced the absolute worst luck imaginable. But the longer he stares at that little doll, his heart just sinks even deeper. He has absolutely no idea if Kim Zena and the master are still safe. The terrifying face of that mysterious white-haired man suddenly flashes right back into his mind. Kim Giang is terrified that after he fell down here, that guy might continue hurting the people he cares about most. The dark negative emotions completely swarm his mind, but he quickly forces those thoughts away. Because honestly, panicking right now will absolutely not solve a single thing for him. Action is his only option. Things look totally hopeless, but trust me on this, we are about to watch him fight his way out. He rallies his spirit and stands up, when suddenly, he feels something touch his shoulder. Stick with me here. Wet, sticky liquid randomly drops down from above, landing right on the baseball bat resting on Kim Giang's shoulder. Pure instinct makes him look up, and he spots a massive spider. But no, calling it a spider does not even do it justice. This thing is a literal nightmare fuel monster. It opens its huge, bloody red mouth full of razor-sharp teeth, looking absolutely ready to bite his head off. Terrified, Kim Giang instantly stumbles backward. Looking closer, this freakish thing might have a spider body, but it has 2 completely human-like arms attached. Definitely not a normal creature by any means. I have got to run, Kim Giang immediately thinks. Pushing his observation skills to the absolute max, he spots a very narrow rock crevice far off. Looks like it might be an escape route. With zero time to think, Kim Giang instantly jumps up and bolts. But that monster has no intention of letting him go, chasing aggressively right on his heels. Right at the exact second it is about to grab him, he dives through that narrow gap. The spider body is way too massive to fit, so it gets temporarily blocked outside. However, a few of its sharp spiky legs manage to violently squeeze their way in, still viciously trying to attack Kim Giang with pure aggression. He has to press his body flat against the rock wall just to dodge the deadly strikes. Seriously, what on earth is this mutated spider actually made of? Wherever his sharp legs hit, even the solid hard rock gets completely hollowed out like soft tofu. You and I both know if his body gets pierced by that thing, it is an instant game over. This intense standoff drags on for a while. Despite trying his absolute hardest, the spider just cannot reach Kim Giang, so it finally gives up. Still hiding inside the rock crevice, he is panting heavily from the insane stress. Hearing that it is quiet outside, his racing heart finally feels a little bit lighter. Just a moment ago, he really thought he was dead, but sadly his problems have not entirely disappeared. Now that he can relax just a tiny bit, Kim Giang finally notices his completely dark purple arm. This is definitely from getting violently stung by that giant water bug earlier. Right now, this entire arm of his has lost all feeling completely. Kim Giang mutters a quiet curse. This is literally the absolute worst possible situation. When his life was already basically hanging by a very tiny thread in this dark place, now his arm has to go and end up exactly like this. But he obviously cannot just hide in here forever. So after gathering all his courage, Kim Giang cautiously sneaks back to the cave entrance. He very quickly manages to locate his dropped baseball bat. Because surviving in this hellscape is basically impossible without having a decent weapon. That freaky spider has disappeared to who knows exactly where. Kim Giang does not see it, but he spots a strange glowing light appearing from afar. You probably think he's safe, right? Seeing a human silhouette right inside that light, he eagerly yells out like it is a lifeline. Hey, over here! There is someone over here! Speaking loudly, Kim Giang quickly walks toward that shadow. He silently feels incredibly lucky. Just a second ago, he honestly thought he was completely alone in this weird, twisted place. However, after stepping past the blind rock corner and clearly seeing that figure, Kim Giang is instantly frozen in absolute shock all over again. Because that is not a person. Or, more accurately, it used to be a person. But right now, it is just a rotting corpse that has not fully decomposed, with bare white bones exposed. There is actually another water bug sitting right on its skull. The craziest part is, right after Kim Giang shows up, this thing aggressively lunges at him like it is somehow still completely alive. Even though he is dizzy and terrified beyond belief, at least Kim Giang still completely understands exactly how he needs to dodge in this wild situation. The skeleton misses him entirely. Trust me, we are just getting started here. That nasty bug stinger is jammed deep right into the back of its neck. Let's dive in. You and I are looking at a straight up parasite right now. But honestly, no matter what this freakish thing actually is, the best solution is completely crushing it. So Kim Giang winds up the bat in his hands and swings forward, delivering a massive smash with every single ounce of his strength. But things do not go his way at all. Instead of the bug, the only thing shattering to pieces is his prized high school championship baseball bat. Absolutely devastating luck right there. And worse, that bold move just completely pissed off the creepy water bug even more. The bug and the skeleton slowly turn their heads. Then bam! It accelerates out of nowhere and viciously bites down on his shoulder. The sudden intense pain just makes Kim Giang absolutely furious. This time, he shoves it away with his bare hand. The skeleton stumbles back, but the second it regains balance, it lunges right at him again. Its speed is just unbelievable, leaving Kim Giang with absolutely zero time to even think about dodging or running away. Pure instinct takes over. He throws his arm up to block, taking another brutal bite. It is way more dangerous this time around, with blood already dripping heavily from his torn arm. Pushing through the bone, deep agony, Kim Giang desperately scrambles and finds a solid rock. He viciously slams it into the bag on the corpse's head, completely knocking the monstrous duo right off their feet. Right after, Kim Giang seizes the perfect opening, charging in and using the rock as a brutal weapon to just relentlessly smash his prey over and over. His absolute refusal to die finally overpowers the freakish monster. Kim Giang drops back, completely exhausted and gasping for a single breath of air. He actually thought it was finally over. But watch this. You and I are about to see real despair. He hears footsteps, looks up, and a literal legion of corpses is standing there. Animal bodies, human bodies. It is an absolute nightmare. And they all share one terrifying trait. They are fully infected by that exact same water bug. Kim Giang mentally curses his terrible luck, but giving up and dying right here, that is just not his style at all. Taking one massive deep breath, he violently charges straight toward the massive legion of the undead. They immediately swarm forward too, perfectly boxing him in from every single side. The animal zombies viciously bite at his legs, while the human corpses desperately try to pin down his upper body and crush him. Fighting totally unarmed and all alone against that entire mob is honestly way too much for him to handle at this point. Plus, honestly, this horde looks incredibly disgusting. Anyone with a weak stomach would have completely fainted a long time ago. He fiercely struggles for a moment, but ultimately gets slammed down. Seeing the undead swarming over him, Kim Giang just wants to let out a tired sigh. Is his final ending really going to be dying here and turning into a mindless zombie just like the rest? How interesting. Out of absolutely nowhere, a mysterious voice echoes through the air. Kim Giang's heart completely skips a beat, and his eyes wildly dart toward the direction where that voice just came from. I know what you are thinking. Yes. Unbelievably, it is the exact same doll Kim Zena made for him. Right now, it is magically floating right in midair. A spooky blue fire blazes fiercely on its head, and one of its eyes is literally glowing with intense flames. Kim Giang feels like he is completely losing his grip on reality, actually hearing a doll speak. What is even crazier is that he actually opens his mouth to answer it back, or more accurately, to desperately ask, "What in the world are you?" Does that even matter right now? You are basically standing at death's door, so just grab me. Do it, and you will actually survive. The doll's entire body burns away, transforming into a brilliantly blazing blue flame. Right in the middle of that fire, a single faint eye can be seen, urgently pushing Kim Giang over and over to grab onto it. In front is a totally unknown flame, while behind him is a bloodthirsty horde of zombies with absolute murderous intent. Trust me, you and I would make the exact same split-second choice here. He sprints like lightning toward the mysterious flame, grabbing it just in the nick of time before the undead horde pounces. Boom! A massive explosion. A massive explosion erupts instantly, knocking down the entire zombie horde. Let me show you where things get wild. That weird, floating, formless flame? It now appears in Kim Giang's hands completely transformed. The thing actually turned into a literal baseball bat. Sure, it looks kind of flashy, but to him, it is still just a piece of wood. You can barely call it a real weapon. He seriously wonders if fate is just playing a cruel joke on him, dragging him into despair over and over again. That explosion only managed to push the zombies back for a few short seconds. Right now, they are already charging straight toward him like absolute mania. With zero options left, he swings the bat with everything. And right then, he instantly feels the insane difference between this weapon and his old useless one. while his old bat shattered into pieces the second it hit a zombie. This thing is incredibly powerful, completely crushing the enemy's body with just a single devastating strike. Plus, there is not even a single scratch left on the bat. He can actually feel this wild surge of raw energy rising up deep inside his own body. Watch closely. Is this basic looking bat actually the key to everything? He has absolutely no idea what is even happening right now. But with a weapon like this, could he actually pull this off? Of course he can. He hypes himself up for battle. It does not matter where he is or what this weapon's history is, or why he has to suffer through this absolute nightmare. Right now, none of that actually matters to him anymore. At this exact moment, his only goal is to crush his enemies and stay alive. He sets his mind to it, and he actually gets the job done, even though it drains his energy. By the time the attacks finally stop, the whole area has turned into a completely brutal war zone. Not a single monster body is left intact after facing the sheer power of that bat. He just stands there, staring hard at the thing in his hand. He can still feel that massive power surging through his entire body. And he honestly wonders if this is some kind of crazy magic. What gets even creepier is that right after, the weapon turns back into that weird mystical blue flame again. Then it morphs into a full-blown monster with a huge mouth and razor-sharp teeth. This absolute madness happens right in front of him, making him scream out loud in pure shock. I know what you are thinking, it will attack him, right? But nope. Instead, it starts devouring every single dead monster scattered around the entire area. Watching this thing swallow up the monsters, he finds the whole situation totally unbelievable to witness. Once the terrifying feast is finally over, it shifts back into a neat little bat resting in his hand. He absolutely cannot take his eyes off that bizarre object. But right at that moment, a violently sharp pain hits his heart out of nowhere. It hurts so badly that he collapses to the ground, writhing in pure agony. Even though it passes fast, the horrible lingering feeling it leaves behind is absolutely brutal. He gasps for air, and then suddenly notices that the bleeding injury on his arm is completely fading away. Not just his arm either, his entire body is literally healing itself right now. At a speed you can actually see, erasing even the smallest, tiny scratches completely. He feels himself getting strangely stronger, like some kind of insane power-up. Could this healing also be power coming from the bat? If so, this thing is definitely a genuinely unbelievable overpowered treasure. Armed with this thing, he finally starts hoping he can actually survive in this place. Even though the immediate deadly threat has been dealt with for now, stick around, because another completely deadly issue is about to drop. Alright, stick with me here. Kim Giang is starving, and eating means survival. So he starts wandering around this pitch-black cave looking for a quick meal. The first thing he actually spots? A cluster of mushrooms. Honestly, it's the absolute best thing he can shove in his mouth right now. But seeing these things glow like crazy in the dark, he starts stressing out about whether they are actually toxic or not. It is a seriously intense mental struggle for him. And after going back and forth, the brutal hunger finally completely breaks his hesitation. He figures it is way better to drop dead from poison than to starve. So he just goes for it, totally devouring those glowing mushrooms. Suddenly his mind is totally blown. These weird things, they are actually insanely delicious. Waiting a bit longer. Still no signs of poisoning. Looks like this crazy desperate gamble completely paid off for him in the end. Food problem? Consider it temporarily solved for now. Hungry? Eat glowing mushrooms. Thirsty? Drink lake water. Even with those absolutely disgusting leeches occasionally swimming right past him. Honestly, in this brutal survival setup, catching some deadly disease and dropping dead anytime would not be a surprise at all. But probably thanks to the mysterious power of that stuff, he is actually still completely safe and sound. Even surviving inside this incredibly harsh cave system feels a bit more bearable, all thanks to that crazy hidden power he holds. Just as he starts to really adapt to this wild cave life, disgusting monsters constantly start swarming him from every single direction. Pay attention, here it is a brutal reminder that he is definitely not in his world anymore. After observing them, Kim Giang realizes these creepy bug monsters are actually living as parasites right inside the corpses of other dead creatures. Sure, they have thick outer shells, but their weak points? Super easy to hit. Right now, taking these things down is not actually that hard for him. Although, all this insane success is definitely because of his magical staff. Every time he slaughters these ugly beasts, a staff in his hand completely devours their leftover corpses. It eats absolutely everything, leaving zero trace of them behind. Then, when it returns to his hand, his body gets totally healed and becomes stronger than he ever was before. And just like that, Kim Giang slowly gets used to this absolute living hell. He slowly regains his hope and builds up the confidence that he can actually survive this. But all of that hope shatters instantly the very second he crosses paths with that specific terrifying monster once again. This dark cave is already packed with endless hidden dangers. We both know what is coming. The absolute deadliest threat, definitely this guy. That twisted nightmare-fueled spider-human hybrid that almost ripped his life away during their very first brutal encounter. Luckily, it only occasionally wanders around the main monster nest area. Besides that, it really does not seem to be making any other moves. Kim Giang has been sneaking around the cave for ages just to avoid that thing, but he simply cannot find a single clear way out of here. So finally, he reaches one completely terrifying conclusion. The only real exit is past the exact nest area where he originally fell down. But the massive problem with this, he has to cross right through that deadly zone swarming with disgusting cocoons. Even if he can handle the regular bugs and monsters right now, that entire nest area is still pure, unfiltered hell on earth for anyone. And Kim Giang is absolutely terrified of having to face his worst nightmare, that freaky half-human, half-spider boss waiting in the dark. He is genuinely scared he cannot beat it. And even if he actually escapes, there is zero guarantee that he can ever make it back home to where his family is waiting. Is he really doomed to be trapped in this underground nightmare forever? A terrifying thought, right? But trust me, he is absolutely not gonna let that happen. Alright, stick with me here as Kim Giang tries figuring out how he ended up in this exact nightmare. He was totally sure he was standing on solid ground before he suddenly just slipped and fell down. Plus, that guy at the temple with a face looking exactly like his, definitely connected to all this crazy mess. He remembers that weird dude telling him he needed to go find something specific down here. Closing his eyes tight, he shakes his head, trying hard to clear away all those distracting thoughts. Now is absolutely not the time to overthink things. First priority, he really needs to escape this place. Stealing his resolve, Kim Giang turns back toward that literal living hell. A place so creepy, it would make anyone with trypophobia instantly pass out. Looking around frantically, he confirms that the massive monster is nowhere to be seen right now. Looks like he still has some luck today. Even better, those gross bugs inside the cocoons do not look agitated at all. Even the ones that already broke out of their shells are staying totally quiet. This actually gives him a little hope that making a clean escape is perfectly possible. Now watch closely, because right then, his foot accidentally crushes a dry bone clean in half. That loud crack makes him tense up until he can hardly breathe at all. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds pass. Everything remains completely dead silent. It seems like neither the giant monster nor those nasty bugs heard that tiny noise at all. Meanwhile, he is shaking like a leaf. Slowly, he starts inching his way forward, bit by bit. Right now, his only goal is moving fast to escape this absolutely disgusting nightmare room. Reaching the end, there are still cocoons stuck everywhere, but totally zero signs of an exit. He obviously cannot help feeling super disappointed. Could this actually be a complete dead end? But wait, light is shining down. That clearly means it connects to the outside world. So if he wants out, he has to climb up. The only problem? He has no idea how to climb. Takes another step forward, wanting a better look at that glowing light up above. Suddenly, he steps on something really weird. In his mind, he just thinks totally doomed. Because the thing he just stepped on, it is the lower body of that exact terrifying spider monster he wanted to avoid. A sharp swooshing sound cuts through the air. The monster front leg lunges violently right at Kim Giang. Just a single strike instantly sends him flying straight backward. He can even taste metallic, gross blood inside his own mouth. His body slams hard into the ground, a totally brutal fall. I know you felt that hit too. Cursing quietly, he realizes he walks straight into the enemy nest. His little trespassing completely ignites the absolute furious rage of that massive beast. It steps toward him, opening its mouth to let out a piercing, bone-chilling roar that gives you goosebumps. His whole body aches, but he stubbornly plants his weapon into the ground and forces himself up. He refuses to quit here. Taking a very deep breath, he swings his weapon up once again. And this time, he actually leaves a deep gash right on the monster leg. Hot yellow blood oozes out, proving his strength is on a completely different level than their first fight. How is that? Your time is up. Stepping forward, he taunts it feels a little different than our first encounter, right? Trust me, you will love this part. Gripping his bat tight, he gets into a perfect baseball stance. Does the monster even understand human? Alright, stick with me here. His confident stance and tone, it completely pissed this thing off. Just a second ago, it was walking slowly, but now, it goes straight into full attack mode. Thanks to his background tracking fast-moving baseballs, Kim Giang's eyesight is actually insane. He could already track that monster perfectly before, always super confident in his own visual reaction skills. But this situation right here, this is an entirely different level of crazy. Yet just holding that trusty bat in his hand somehow pushes his focus up another massive tier. His next swing, absolutely picture perfect. The exact microsecond that monster steps into his strike zone, he swings hard. Another shriek echoes out totally ear-piercing, but this time it's packed with pure agony. The beast stumbles back a few steps, rocking a brand new bleeding wound on its leg. Realizing he actually landed 2 heavy back-to-back hits and dealt some seriously heavy damage to this freak, Kim Giang's baseball field confidence starts flooding back. He hypes himself up knowing he can actually win this fight. Both sides freeze up for a few seconds, sizing up each other's raw power. Then that massive spider opens its jaws, dropping that familiar screech right as it launches another attack. Only this time around, it's not aiming straight for Kim Giang. The exact moment he senses something feels horribly wrong. Now pay attention to this part. The ground starts violently shaking like thousands of legs rushing right at us. That swarm of water bugs that was chilling before, the boss spider's shriek completely woke them up and now they are aggressively swarming up behind it. Staring down that endless crawling ocean of bugs is enough to give anyone massive full-body goosebumps. This is completely unfair. They are literally just using sheer numbers to overwhelm him. But backing down isn't an option. He just has to fight. Kim Giang goes into overdrive, swinging his bat down with maximum force over and over again. He fights until his vision blurs, absolutely drenched in sweat. Things are not looking good at all. The ground is literally covered in dead bugs, and his stamina is hitting rock bottom, but there are just way too many left. Plus, that massive boss is still waiting. If this absolute grind keeps going, the battle will literally never end, and there's no way his body can hold out forever like this. He desperately needs to find a solid plan, but in one single second of distraction, a razor-sharp spider leg violently pierces right through his chest. Let that sink in for a second. Getting impaled like that has to be absolute hell. The blinding pain instantly paralyzes his entire body. He is hurting so bad he nearly blacks out, but his mind stays weirdly sharp. So, while that giant leg is still brutally lodged inside him, Kim Giang swings his bat with everything he has, snapping that massive limb right off its body. The monster lets out a deafening roar of pure agony while he quickly rips the leg out. Hot blood immediately gushes out, spilling onto the ground like rain. Frantically presses his hand against the massive wound, but the damage is way too deep. Blood loss kicks in incredibly fast and his vision starts fading to black almost instantly. Meanwhile, the giant spider boss only lost a single leg. It's still an absolute powerhouse, not to mention the endless sea of bugs backing it up. Kim Giang is gasping for air, blood pouring from his chest. He literally thinks, is this where I die? There is absolutely zero chance of winning this anymore. What else could he even possibly do here? What do you all expect me to do anyway? Keep fighting! Suddenly, a super familiar voice rings out inside his head, making him jolt right awake. And right in that exact fleeting moment, he pictures Zena's ridiculously serious face. And we all know the rule, don't even think about quitting. Kim Zena? How is that even possible? Let's dive right in. Kim Giang thinks he's fully hallucinating, but that schoolgirl in uniform just keeps pushing him. Hurry up, the master and I are waiting. Get on your feet and fight back. Then, her face just vanishes. All that is left is that familiar blue smoke completely swirling around Kim Giang's body. He snaps right back to reality, fully pumped like he just got a massive adrenaline shot. Kim Giang quickly grabs his dropped staff, and get this, that blue smoke actually starts fighting right alongside him. The aura here is absolutely no joke. Any of those creepy water bugs that even touch the smoke get instantly blasted away. In that exact split second, Kim Giang and the mysterious energy literally fuse together into one perfect being. His confidence spikes. The raw power flowing through him is completely unreal. At this point, he's just absolutely sick and tired of dealing with these disgusting little pests. He mutters to himself, sounding straight up arrogant. He doesn't even view them as a threat anymore, completely different from the terrified shaking kid he was earlier. Seeing him stand back up, the massive spider monster roars out, trying to flex his dominance. But this time, Kim Giang's mind is a total fortress. That piercing screech does not faze him. He actually bursts forward and charges straight in. Lightning, fast speed, every single move is completely ruthless and dead on. The heavy stuff in Kim Giang's grip literally paints an absolute masterpiece mid-air. Now watch closely. Before he even fully processes what just happened, that boss monster is already dead at his feet. Kim Giang is totally stunned, completely blown away. What in the world is actually happening? How did he suddenly get so insanely strong? He just stares at the glowing light at the cave's end. He just stands there frozen, staring right at the exit in front of him. He is finally making it out. His hand tightly grips the staff as it pulses with a bright blue light. He suddenly flinches, eyes going completely wide. Unable to hide his shock, Kim Giang watches the blinding blue phantom dart straight ahead. He's totally confused. Wait, is it eating again? It opens wide and literally swallows the defeated monster's corpse whole off the floor. Kim Giang frowns, stepping back from the crazy scene happening before him. He just watches that phantom slowly slide right back into his trusty staff. No matter how many times he sees it, he just cannot get used to this. That intense blue energy funnels straight back down, gathering directly into his hand. The second it hits his body, he completely doubles over, letting out a painful groan. He looks down at his chest where the massive wound is glowing bright. His wound! He drops straight down to his knees, quickly looking all around him. Sure, it is awesome that they are healing up, but the pain is insane. He really can never get used to this pure agony. Grabbing his staff, he finally forces himself to stand, thinking, but I know what you're thinking, what about the power? He looks down, tightly clenching his fist. This power is on a completely different level than anything he got from those earlier scrubs. Does his strength actually scale up depending on how tough the opponent is? Instantly, his expression shifts to dead serious. He locks his eyes right on that cave exit filled with pure absolute determination. He has no idea what insane challenges lie ahead, but Kim Giang grips his weapon, raising a hand against the blinding sun as he steps outside. With this new power, he will absolutely forge his own path. Suddenly, he freezes in his tracks, eyes going completely wide. Where is he? Kim Giang stares at an endless ocean of golden sand stretching forever. A desert? He raises his fist, trying his best to keep his cool. A desert is rough, sure, but that's where we leave it. Trust me, you want to see what comes next. A little bit of time passes. Kim Giang drops to his knees in the golden desert sand, completely haggard, hanging his head as he lets out a heavy sigh. Stick with me here. We are about to watch him drag himself forward, realizing he made a massive mistake. This wasteland is way more desolate than he ever imagined, with absolutely zero food anywhere. He stares at the cracked, bone-dry earth right in front of him. No water either. Flashing back to what happened, the only things crossing his path were literal walking skeletons. Pure nightmare fuel. At this point, these freaky monsters do not even surprise him. His eyes are wide open, completely bloodshot after fighting tooth and nail just to stay alive out here. He is totally going to starve. Hitting absolute rock bottom, Kim Giang collapses back onto the hot sand. Not a single living soul in sight. The only things that even resemble humans in this place are those creepy monsters. He just looks up at the open sky and sighs. Is humanity completely extinct in this twisted world? Kim Giang slowly shuts his heavy eyes, basically giving up, praying that the next time he wakes up, this whole nightmare was just a really bad dream. Now pay attention here. Just as he gives up, a sound makes his eyes snap wide open. Oh my god, there is someone out there. Eris, standing right behind her, immediately calls out a warning. Chloe, do not just recklessly walk right up to him like that. The girl just beams a bright smile, leaning down. He is actually alive. Then, crossing her arms over her chest, Chloe looks super annoyed and yells out loud. She stares right at Kim Giang's ugly crying face and complains, could you please just stop sobbing for a single second? He just stares blankly up at the two of them. Instead, Kim Giang just looks up at the sky, snot and tears streaming down his face as he wails. You two are the very first humans I have met here. And the craziest part is, we can't even understand each other's language perfectly. Chloe looks at him, totally grossed out. Seeing this mess, Eris steps in to help. He suggests they should all just calm down, take a quick break, and talk things out. Chloe instantly whips her head around. Wait, what? We still have such a massive journey ahead of us, and you want to stop and rest already? Eris just looks down with absolute seriousness. But the poor guy is so incredibly happy to see us, we simply cannot just abandon him out here and walk away. Besides, you were the one who ran over so excitedly when you realized he was still breathing. Chloe instantly goes quiet, giving a little pout of total dissatisfaction. Then she crosses her arms, turns her head to look at Kim Giang. Fine, I guess we do not have a choice. Seeing her agree, Ares breaks into a smile. Great decision. That night, the three of them huddle together and start prepping dinner. The amazing smell from the bubbling pot fills the air around them. Kim Giang scrunches his eyebrows, completely locked onto the cooking food. You and I both know that feeling, right? His eyes practically sparkle as he stares greedily at that bubbling pot. How long has it actually been since he laid eyes on a real warm meal? Chloe spots his desperate look and loudly complains. Good grief, you look like a guy who has been starving for days. Hearing that, Kim Giang literally drools and replies, I have not eaten a single thing for over 5 whole days. The little girl is completely stunned, asking in pure disbelief, wait, what? How could you possibly survive out here for that long? Ares also shoots him a very serious, questioning look. Kim Giang quickly raises his fist, trying to explain his crazy survival. Well, I am not entirely sure, but maybe it is because I actually absorbed those freaky monsters. Chloe stares blankly at the boiling pot on the stove. Absorb them? It has to be some kind of wild magic I have never even heard of. Kim Giang gets insanely hyped up immediately. Magic? Are you saying magic actually exists here? Seriously? Chloe whips her head around and yells, what do you mean? Where do you even come from? He looks at the ground. How does he explain this? Trust me, you will want to see what happens next. Stick with me, you and I are diving right back in. Ares hands him some soup. Eat up first, we will hear your crazy story while we chew. In an instant, Kim Giang completely inhales the food he just got. Starving much? He shrinks back a little, feeling totally awkward as the questions start rolling in. So, let me get this straight. You are from another world and just woke up here? Ares stares at the ground, putting the pieces together, and by beating down monsters with that weird weapon of yours, your body actually heals up and gets even stronger? He looks right at Kim Giang, visibly impressed. That is one seriously unique ability. Suddenly, Chloe glances around the area, looking totally suspicious. Speaking of which, the sun is down. Why are the zombies so quiet? Kim Giang just casually taps his club on the dirt. He flashes them a huge cheeky grin and shows off his gear. Because I already wiped out every single one of them with this bad boy. Chloe snaps her head toward him, absolutely stunned. Wait, you did what? Aries stares closely at Kim Giang, lost in deep thought. The zombies in this zone always revive at night, no matter how many times you smash them to absolute pieces. His eyes lock onto that weird club, wondering to himself. Now pay attention here, this is the crazy part. Even though it is pitch black, those absorbed undead are not moving at all. Is there some kind of hidden cheat code inside that bizarre weapon? His eyebrows furrowed together, trying to figure it out. Right across from him, Kim Giang looks over at Chloe and offers, "Want me to help clean this up too?" The little girl instantly shoots him down. "No thanks, I am good." Aries quickly stands right up. "Thanks to you, we can actually get a decent night of sleep for once." His voice cuts through the quiet again. "If you have nowhere else to go, why not tag along with us? We will help figure out a way to send you back home." Chloe hears this and immediately yells out, "Wait, what?" Ares keeps a dead serious face, staring straight at Kim Giang. He stammers out, "Oh well." But then, Kim Giang tilts his head back, flashing a bright smile. "I would be honored." Chloe just hugs the dirty balls, angrily looking away. The next day, she is hacking away at a cactus with her blade. She quickly grabs the fresh chunks and stuffs them right into her side pouch. Kim Giang laughs, genuinely impressed. "Wait, you guys can actually eat that stuff? You sure know a lot, Chloe." She lifts her knife high, grinning from ear to ear. Of course, this is basic survival knowledge if you want to cross this barren wasteland alive. Chloe freezes up when she sees Kim Giang resting his chin, smiling so warmly. "What are you looking at?" He just casually shoulders his club and walks ahead. "You remind me so much of my own little sister back in the day." She instantly kicks at him, mad. "I am grown up. You and I both knew this was coming. Our guy is officially joining their party." He speeds up his pace to ask, "By the way, are those ears actually real?" Chloe hears that and gasps in total shock. "You do not have this in your world?" Kim Giang softly denies it. "Nope, we definitely do not." Throughout his entire journey with them, and he learned so many things about this fantasy world from Chloe, who introduces herself as a beastkin. Kim Giang picks up all the common sense and basic knowledge he needs to survive. She curiously asks him, "So what kind of races live back at your home?" His voice echoes back, "Only regular humans, honestly." Chloe jumps back in pure shock. "What? That is incredibly boring." She looks up at the man walking ahead and shouts loudly, "Ares!" From this middle-aged veteran named Ares, Kim Giang starts learning monster habits and solid combat techniques. Ares slides his sword back into its sheath and laughs. "You guys are back already?" He looks at the two of them, quietly thinking, they came to defeat the monster boss. "So, are you and I ready for this epic showdown?" Chloe quickly runs over to take credit. Chloe says she brought food. Ares pats her head with a smile. "Good job." Kim Giang watches them, smiling softly to himself. "I'm so incredibly lucky." He just sits there, taking in their warm and cheerful vibe. Stick with me here, he doesn't know much about this world yet, but the people he's met so far, absolutely solid. Later that night, under a crescent moon, Kim Giang stares quietly at the tiny zombie plushie in his hands. Lying back with his legs crossed, he gets totally lost in thought. Suddenly, a familiar voice breaks the quiet night, grabbing his attention. "Can't sleep?" Ares stands right in front of him, holding a softly glowing lantern. Looking pretty down, Kim Giang sighs and replies, "Just got way too much on my mind." Setting the lantern on the ground, Ares asks, "Homesick?" Then the old man casually takes a seat right next to him. "I'm actually curious." Glancing over at sleeping Chloe, he adds, "I've been in this world a long time, but honestly, you're the very first person from another world I've ever met." Kim Giang closes his eyes, keeping his voice super calm. "Compared to this crazy place, my home was honestly pretty boring." Hearing that, Ares gives a warm, gentle smile. "It must be a truly peaceful world then, right?" Our guy just lowers his head, sinking deep into a wave of heavy nostalgia. He can't help but think, "Wow, I suddenly realized just how peaceful my old life actually was. And that makes my resolve absolute. I'll do literally whatever it takes to find a way back home." Breaking the silence, Kim Giang looks up and asks, "Mister, have you ever heard of baseball?" Ares looks totally confused. "Baseball?" Now watch what happens next. Morning hits and our duo is desperately hugging each other, screaming at a massive roaring dragon. In his head, Kim Giang frantically thinks, "Okay, I'll do absolutely anything, except dying right here." Chloe and Kim Giang sprint forward as fast as possible, not daring to look back. Suddenly, his racing footsteps grind to a complete and sudden halt. "Keep going, Chloe!" She looks back at Kim Giang with serious worry. Gripping his bat tightly, he stares down the giant beast and screams, "Hurry up!" Gritting his teeth, he raises the bat high into the air, bracing for the monster's charge. Without hesitating, our guy puts everything into a devastating swing right at its giant head. As the beast glares down at him, while Kim Giang locks eyes right back, totally unyielding. Pooh! The dragon stomps its massive foot down, literally cracking the solid ground beneath them. It launches a vicious claw swipe straight at him. The impact sends him flying through the air, gasping in pure, blinding pain. He crashes brutally into the dirt, kicking up a massive cloud of dust everywhere. Seeing this horror, Chloe turns and screams his name. He's on the ground, curled into a tight ball, clutching his stomach. After a 10-second, he squints through the pain and forces his head up. Jaws wide open, the nightmare monster charges right at him. But then, his eyes instantly go wide with absolute shock. You and I held our breath, but inches away, that massive beast is sliced completely in half. Kim Giang freezes completely, watching the colossal body collapse heavily onto the dirt right in front of him. Looking up, he sees the old man slowly walking forward, sword fully drawn.
"Mr. Ares."
The veteran smoothly sheathes his blade and asks with concern, "Are you alright?" Chloe frantically rushes over. "Why did it take you so long to get here?" She looks him up and down with panic. "Are you badly hurt anywhere?" Still half crouched on the ruined ground, Kim Giang reassures her, "I'm fine, just a tiny little scratch." Suddenly, a mysterious glowing blue light starts spilling out from his baseball bat. A massive phantom materializes out of nowhere, snapping his razor-sharp teeth at the fallen dragon. Ares and Chloe are totally stunned. Honestly, you and I would be entirely speechless too. The bright blue light flashes, gently healing the deep scratches on his face and hands. Stick with me, watch how fast Jiang's injuries just completely vanish. Chloe runs over, totally shocked. What in the world was that? Is that the insane absorption skill you were talking about earlier today? He just gives her a slight smile. Yeah, something like that. Ares stares at the empty spot, lost in thought. The dragon's corpse and all its mana are just completely gone without a single trace. Then he slowly turns his head, his eyes narrowing as he quietly studies Kim Giang up and down. Suddenly, his voice breaks the silence, making Giang look over. "Hey Giang," Ares says with a dead serious expression. "There is something I need you to do." Chloe and Kim Giang both stare at him, waiting for the punchline, but hearing the request, she completely loses it and screams, "Are you out of your mind?" Ares just keeps staring straight ahead, his face totally blank. Sitting right by the campfire, Giang listens to Chloe's absolute disbelief. "What? You seriously want him to go hunt down a lich?" Remembering what that monster looks like, she yells, "You might as well tell him to die." Frowning, Chloe points right at him. "Why don't you kill it like we originally planned?" Ares just bows his head and calmly says, "Don't worry, Chloe. If he says no, I am not gonna force him." Hearing that, she immediately snaps back. "Stop being so ridiculous! You and I both know a lich is pure nightmare fuel, right? Obviously, this idiot has no clue." Right then, Kim Giang's voice cuts in and stops her rant. "Alright, I will give it a shot." Ares and Chloe both snap their heads around to look at him. Leaning on his staff with one hand, Jiang smiles. "So what do I need to do first?" Later that afternoon, he takes a massive bite of bread, cheeks fully stuffed. Still chewing, Jiang glances over and asks a confirmation test. He just stays quiet, staring right at Ares without saying a word. Chloe is also chewing, totally confused. What are we suddenly trying to confirm here? Looking down at them, he asks again, "Didn't you say Jiang does not fully understand his own abilities?" Hearing this, Jiang raises an eyebrow, paying close attention. Ares nods and confirms exactly that. With that, he calmly explains, "Before you face off against the lich, I really need to understand the true depth of your power." Ares' voice echoes out, breaking down exactly how these abilities actually work. Chloe pauses mid-bite as he continues. "We need to find out where your limits are." Jiang stares down at his staff. "Honestly, you and I are probably wondering the exact same thing." He glares at it, thinking to himself, what kind of bizarre overpowered abilities does this weapon actually have? Then Jiang clenches his fist tightly and shouts out, "Alright, let's go." So what exactly is our first step? He sits kneeling on the ground, looking down with a totally puzzled face. Next, Kim Giang tilts his head up and squints at the spot opposite him. Staying completely frozen in that pose, he confusedly asks, "Wait, what is this?" Chloe flashes a massive smile and cheers. "It is a test to check your mana." Hearing that, Jiang flinches and yells out in shock, "What? You mean I actually have mana?" Resting her chin on one hand, she replies, "High chance you do, since literally everyone possesses some kind of mana." Standing right behind him, Ares smiles. "I am just gonna give you a quick examination. Who knows, maybe we will finally discover the true nature of your weird weapon and your magic." Jiang immediately turns red and hugs himself defensively. "Wait, right here? You wanna do this right now?" Seeing him panic, Ares quickly replies, "It is not that kind of exam." Ares walks over and puts a hand on his shoulder. I just planned to. He places both hands on Giang, finishing his sentence. Release a surge of mana. Let's see what insane power we are about to uncover here. Alright, let's dive in. Suddenly, his consciousness enters the boy's body. Ares stares in pure shock at the swirling blue phantom. What the hell is this? Before he can react, it lunges right at him. In a total panic, Ares is forced to rip his hand away from his shoulder. He squints, staring at Kim Giang's back in absolute, terrifying disbelief. The boy turns around. Are we done? Kim Giang asks, full of eager excitement. Find anything? Ares looks at his trembling hand and completely denies it. No, unfortunately, I didn't see a single thing. Hearing this, the boy looks pretty disappointed. Oh, that's a shame. Ares stares at his smiling face, completely lost in thought. There is no way that thing was just normal magic. It actually felt like another living creature was hiding deep inside the boy's own body. Ares narrows his eyes. Just trying to sense his magic triggered such a violently powerful rejection. He wonders to himself, what exactly is this insane power? Can you use magic too, Chloe? Kim Giang smiles. She shakes her head. No. Looking at that harmless smile, Ares realizes just how incredibly dangerous this kid is. A dried-up zombie marching forward with an axe hears a noise. It instantly turns its head. Bam! A heavy rock smashes into the zombie's head, sending its entire body crashing down backward. Watch closely here. Kim Giang tosses a rock, thinking about his time in this crazy world. He catches it smoothly. He hasn't kept perfect track, but it's definitely been over 3 months. Kim Giang watches that massive blue phantom absolutely devour the zombie. He wonders, just how many monsters has he actually absorbed during all this time? He looks at his hands. His body has completely shattered the limits of a normal human. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls out from right behind him. Giang! Hearing his name, he immediately glances back over his shoulder. This place is crawling with monsters, but Chloe just runs up smiling with a bread basket. Time to eat. Seeing her, Giang realizes he only survived all this madness because he had these amazing friends. In no time, the empty bowl sits absolutely spotless on the ground. Looking insanely happy, Kim Giang lets out a sigh, rubbing his belly and leaning far back. That totally hit the spot. He smiles and praises her. Your cooking is top tier, Chloe. She crosses her arms proudly. This much is just basics. He flashes a huge grin. Are we having something this good for dinner too? Chloe immediately laughs out loud. Just get ready to be completely amazed. We both see his game. Ares sighs, amazed at how he flatters the kid. He just perfectly manipulated her into doing all the cooking again, so smooth. Then, Ares speaks up, changing the subject. Giang, how is that magic training going? Giang holds up a finger, trying to recall it. You mean that magic control stuff? He replies, looking completely exhausted and visibly sad. Well, it's not going great. Honestly, I still can't feel a single thing at all. He sighs in total frustration. I guess I just don't have any talent for this. Ares stays completely silent, thinking to himself, I figured the requirements were way too high. He watches the kid looking so incredibly defeated. But honestly, Giang doesn't seem like the type to have magical talent, just like him. Giang grumbles, man, I really thought I was gonna be like Harry Potter. Ares quickly comforts him, don't give up yet. You are actually getting influenced by magic slowly. Really? Ares smiles. Just keep trying. Trust me, you wanna see what happens next. He'd master magic soon enough. Kim Giang excitedly rolled up his sleeves, totally hyped up for battle. Stick with me here, guys. Even without magic control, our boy has seriously leveled up his strength. He figured he'd be super useful when they finally clash with the lich, right? Chloe glanced over at him, totally judging the situation. Ares just stared at him in dead silence. Then, completely shocking Kim Giang, the old man flat out rejected the idea of no direct combat for him. His stern voice immediately broke the silence to explain the plan. Sure, by normal human standards, Kim Giang was basically an absolute beast, but Ares gave him a deadly serious look. He still wasn't anywhere near strong enough to fight a lich. Kim Giang's eyes went wide with pure shock at those harsh words. His only real mission was to absorb the lich's dead body after they actually defeated it. Scratching his head awkwardly, Kim Giang just nodded and accepted his background role. Seeing his disappointment, Ares reminded him not to stress. This was purely for his own safety. Resting his hands on his knees, he stood up. They were days away from the target, so resting was crucial. The corner of Kim Giang's mouth lifted into a confident smirk. The three of them stood up together and kept moving. Now pay attention. That night, Kim Giang kept grinding his undead combat training before everyone finally chilled around the warm campfire sharing stories. Come morning, Kim Giang was right back at it, practicing his heavy swings. By nightfall, the old master sat alone by the fire, keeping strict guard. Howling her heavy bag, Chloe sat down hard. She let out a massive sigh, totally exhausted from the intense trek. Ares glanced back and hyped her up. They just needed to push slightly further. He looked right at her. The Dragon Tomb's entrance was at the canyon's end. Kim Giang quickly stepped up, offering to carry her heavy backpack for her. He immediately slung the heavy gear right onto his own shoulder. He threw her a motivating smile. Chloe's eyes instantly sparkled with pure relief as she nodded and followed along. Right in front of them stood an insanely steep and completely treacherous cliff. Chloe stared way up at the top, totally confused. Aries followed her gaze and confirmed her suspicions. Kim Giang's entire face shifted into pure focus, staring straight ahead at danger. The old man's voice dropped. This was the lich's actual tomb. The trio immediately took the dark, creepy stairs down into the underground crypt. Inside, the tomb was massively huge, but weirdly completely empty and dead silent. Looking around, Kim Giang joked it was cleaner than expected, but Chloe frowned hard, her anxiety spiking from the sudden eerie calmness. Holding up his flickering oil lamp, Aries warned them to stay on high alert right now. You and I know horror tropes monsters love jumping out here, but Kim Giang just winked, playfully asking if ghosts were actually a real threat. Almost immediately, he flinched and squinted his eyes, sensing something terribly wrong nearby. Kim Giang instantly snapped his head back to check behind him. Saying there are no ghosts is the ultimate trigger warning for getting jumped from behind. Right behind him, a skeleton spirit literally scratched his bony head and casually greeted him. His face dropped completely as he let out an absolutely panicked scream. Stunned, the skeleton got brutally smashed by Kim Giang's heavy stick. After that epic smackdown, he stared at the crumpled undead spirit, trying to calm his racing heart. Chloe rushed forward in disbelief. Wait, blunt force trauma actually works on literal ghosts? He casually played it off. It was all about having fierce willpower to crush them. Down below, a creeping rat instantly raised its tiny head at the loud commotion. Totally unaware of the creepy stalker, Kim Giang just kept asking more questions. Trust me, you are gonna want to see this, lich. Ares just raised his lamp in dead silence. Ares' voice echoes out. Stick with me, here we are stepping right into the domain of the lich, Lord of Death. Ares pushes forward, explaining the grim reality. This monster revives and controls absolutely every single rotting corpse in this hellhole. He glares at a glowing purple zombie charging right at them, warning the group. If that lich fully revives and gets its original power back, it is going to lead an undead army and literally destroy the world. And that is exactly why they have to crush this guy before he can even blink and recover his full strength. With one smooth swing, Ares slices the zombie's head clean in half. Then, he suddenly frowns, glancing right over at Kim Giang. But here is the catch. Even if they take the lich down today, his dark magic will just resurrect him in 100 years. Ares locks eyes with Giang. He reveals that this is exactly why he has been keeping such a close watch on the kid's powers. His gaze shifts down to the shattered zombie chunks on the floor. If Giang can literally absorb and erase these undead grunts, Ares' deep voice echoes loudly through the dark, empty corridors. Then he should totally be able to do the exact same thing to their master. Hearing this insane theory, Giang just flinches in pure absolute shock. He steps forward, shrugging it off. So that is the plan? Honestly, taking out the boss might not actually be that hard. Giang keeps walking, throwing out a quick question. Are they even sure this weird stick is going to work exactly the way they planned? Ares and Chloe just silently watch his back. Because honestly, the thing has not even absorbed every single monster they face so far. Giang steps right onto a suspicious floor tile, casually admitting he still does not even understand how the weapon's mechanics actually work. Ares flinches at Giang's famous last words. Everything will be fine, right? You and I both know that's the ultimate jinx. Chloe panics from behind, screaming wildly for Giang to wait. Hearing the sudden yell, he looks over, super confused. Giang immediately turns his head around, asking why she isn't catching up. Ares instantly roars at the top of his lungs, telling Giang to get out of there right now. The next second, Giang flinches, letting out a confused grunt as he realizes he is standing dead center in a magic circle. He just stares at the intense light completely swallowing his body, wondering what the heck is going on. In the literal blink of an eye, the brilliant light wraps around Giang, and he completely vanishes. Ares drags Chloe along as they rush over, but the magic circle is already totally gone. Both of their faces instantly drain of all color in pure shock. Completely filled with dread, they scan the area. Ares and Chloe are left frozen in place, staring down an utterly empty corridor. Without wasting another second, Ares explodes forward, sprinting at max speed. He just prays he is not too late. Meanwhile, in a totally different location, Giang is lying flat in a massive crater. Holding his aching head, he lets out a painful groan. What on earth was that blinding light? Giang slowly glances around at his new surroundings, wondering where in the world he actually ended up. Suddenly, he just freezes completely, his eyes locking hard onto something in the distance. Right in front of Giang is a massive towering door with a terrifying skull carved into it. He tilts his head up, staring intensely as he mutters, "A door?" Giang keeps staring dead at the ominous gate, deeply lost in his own thoughts. We both know what is up. Anyone can tell there's definitely a deadly lich behind that door. He grabs his backpack straps and makes a call. Well, at least it was not a brutal trap designed to chop off his limbs, right? Back on the other side, Ares and Chloe are still standing completely frozen, staring down that empty hallway. Both of them are completely stunned, glued to the spot in shock. There is nothing on the floor but a single bone fragment. Ares charges forward, brutally crushing the bone under his heavy boot. His face packed with anxiety, he scoops up Chloe and dashes ahead. Getting dragged along, she frowns and demands to know why the huge rush. What in the world actually just happened to Kim Giang back there? Ares' face twists into a dead serious glare as he looks ahead, his eyebrows pulled together tightly, cursing himself internally. Damn it, he completely let his guard down. After all, this is a dangerous dungeon where crazy stuff like this can literally happen at any second. Meanwhile, Gian stands with hands on his hips, breathing out a long sigh. Better just stay calm and wait for Uncle Ares. Meanwhile, Ares slashes a zombie's head off. Trust me, you have to see what happens next. Stick with me. He blasts down the hole, leaving those dried corpses totally wrecked. Chloe scowls and demands answers, shouting at him. I am asking you what on earth is actually happening right now. Ares just stares back, deadly serious. Total silence. The exact moment flashes through his mind. He finally explains the grim reality the trap Giang stepped on was actually the liches' teleportation magic circle. Hearing that drops her stomach. Panic in her voice, she immediately asks, where was he sent? Ares narrows his eyes and delivers the bad news. If my guess is right, he's in the boss room, right where the lich sleeps. Meanwhile, a terrified Kim Giang stares in pure shock at what's across from him. The lich is just sitting there on its throne, perfectly still, like a statue. Pitch black eye sockets, zero movement. Seeing this terrifying scene, Kim Giang bites his lip, staying absolutely dead silent while watching the creature. After a long second of zero movement, he finally lets out a quiet breath. Is that the actual boss? Is it asleep? Thank God. As long as he doesn't wake this undead nightmare up, he might actually survive. He turns his head to check his surroundings. He knew he had a bad feeling about this, and yep, this definitely isn't outside the door anymore. Glancing around the dark room, reality hits him hard. He is locked inside. Too scared to even twitch, he only uses his eyes to scan the room. One wrong step might trigger another deadly trap. The smartest play here is to stand completely frozen and just wait. But suddenly, pure panic. A strange blue energy starts leaking straight out of his staff. He immediately grips it tight, his anxiety suddenly shooting straight through the roof. Why the hell is this happening right now? This staff has never done this before. And watch closely, the lich's dead eyes suddenly flash with a blinding purple light. Pure killing intent washes over him from behind, freezing him entirely in place. He can literally feel the glowing purple aura behind his back growing brighter and deadlier. The bony hand resting on the boss's thigh slowly begins to twitch. An overwhelming purple aura violently erupts from its body. Sweating bullets, Kim Giang slowly turns his guarded face toward the monster. Right there in its skeletal grip, a massive magical scepter materializes. The lich stands tall, gripping its staff and glaring down like a god of death. Yeah, he is absolutely doomed right now. Meanwhile, Ares is rushing back with Chloe at top speed when a massive boom echoes. She looks over in pure panic, asking what that was. Ares shoots a dark look toward the boss room, yelling, "Game over! Did it wake up?" Back in the room, his legs give out completely. You and I both know a nightmare when we see one. Looking at this undead boss floating in midair, he realizes this is an entirely different league. The monster points a single finger, charging up a deadly energy sphere aimed right at him. He looks up at the attack, his eyes wide open. A colossal wave of destructive magic forms right above his head, ready to drop. Forcing himself up, he grips his staff tight. There is literally zero chance he dodges this. With no way out, he bites down hard in defiance. Fine then. His eyes flash with sudden fire. Gritting his teeth, he makes a crazy choice. He's gonna block it head on. As he swings his staff upwards, a brilliant blue light erupts from the tip, clashing directly against the massive magical blast. His expression turns totally fierce, grinding his teeth and letting out an epic roar. The rushing blue energy from his weapon actually starts pushing back the boss's dark magic. Surrounded by its own purple aura, the creature watches this impossible counterattack unfold. Boom! A massive explosion detonates, completely swallowing the boss's body. Both hands lock tightly on his staff. Our boy stays extremely guarded, staring straight ahead. His eyes narrow into slits, absolute pure vigilance written all over his face. The heavy smoke slowly clears out, revealing that terrifying purple magical halo still shining perfectly intact. And right after that, the undead figure steps menacingly out from behind the thick dust. It looks down from above. Wrapped inside his magical sphere, the boss actually praises him. You possess a truly unusual power. So what do you and I make of this? Hearing the monster speak, he just grits his teeth, completely on edge. Stick with me here. The lich wonders if his core lies in that heart, gently hooking a single finger. Kim Giang flinches as massive vines suddenly erupt, quickly wrapping tightly around his wrists. Another thick vine instantly snares his leg, hoisting him high into the air, limbs completely bound and trapped. The lich's eyes glow, a menacing purple. Kim Giang grits his teeth, hearing that voice. Gotcha. The lich glares down from above, his tone dripping with absolute contempt. Now then, he reaches out toward Kim Giang. I will personally dissect you to find out. The lich raises a cold hand toward him, shouting, "Come!" Kim Giang's eyes widen in pure terror. Let the dissection begin. Suddenly, dark aura slashes the lich's wrist. Both of them instantly snap their heads around. Stepping into the light, Ares makes an epic entrance, holding his sword. Standing tall, he glares ahead. Ares casts a razor-sharp look at the vine strapping the boy. Sliced clean through, Kim Giang instantly crashes hard onto the ground. He groans in pain, head bowed low. Ares checks on him quickly. "Are you hurt?" He glances back over his shoulder. "Fall back now." Ares locks eyes with the lich. "Let me handle this guy." "Watch closely!" He points a finger, blasting raw magic straight at Ares. Ares stands perfectly still as magic arrows strike, triggering massive chain explosions. Watching the explosions, Kim Giang screams out in panic, "Uncle Ares!" The lich just watches, face totally calm. From the smoke, a blade emerges. Ares unleashes a massive horizontal slash. The sword aura slices the lich cleanly. Ares grips his weapon, glancing sideways. But instantly, the monster's shattered body gathers and starts regenerating. Fully healed in seconds, we are both just brutal villains, aren't we? Ares narrows his eyes, glaring hard. The lich raises both hands, gathering intense mana. Purple light flares in his palms. He swings up, hurling a massive magic orb. "Hi!" Kim Giang looks up in absolute shock, screaming, "What the hell is this?" You feel that tension. He roars. End of the stars. Blinding purple light instantly swallows the entire battlefield. Jaw dropped, Kim Giang stares in disbelief, gripping his staff incredibly tight. The purple glow spreads, completely destroying the ground below. Ares stabs his sword into the earth to avoid getting blown away. Frowning, he stares ahead. The lich floats above the magic-covered ground. He looks down in absolute silence. Kim Giang gazes upward as the lich's eerie voice echoes again. "Usually you face me completely alone, but this time you brought along a strange tag-along." Staring dead at Kim Giang, he asks, "Brought a trump card to destroy me?" He instantly claps both hands. "But you aren't the only one prepared." Closing his eyes, he quickly chants, "Whisper of the Void." Ares purses his lips, watching silently as space itself violently warps around him. Finally, inside this distorted dimension, only Ares and the lich remain standing. Ares instantly turns, searching for Kim Giang. Looking down, the enemy declares, "This space is specifically for you." Gritting his teeth, Ares challenges him. "Planning to duel me in here?" Narrowing his eyes, the lich calmly replies, "That works too. But right before that, I plan to open the present you brought along." Trust me, watch this. Kim Giang panics. "Where am I?" The lich's gaze narrows. "Alright, let's dive into this madness." Staring right at Ares, he yells, "Looks like you brought a dagger for my heart. But that blade is gonna spin right back around and stab you instead." He pushes hard, trying to move his body. Damn it, he cannot budge an inch. Ares narrows his eyes, glancing back. It definitely looks like some kind of mental magic. Not reality at all. He looks straight up at the lich. Breaking out of this won't be easy. Normally, he would just slowly chip away at it. Ares bites his lip, thinking hard. If he hesitates now, Giang's life is totally over. Just hold on a little bit longer, Giang. Meanwhile, Kim Giang freezes completely on the spot when he hears that. The lich screams out, "Surrender it to me!" His voice echoes everywhere. "Offer this entire place right up to me now, the absolute ruler of everything, death, and the true terror of life." Kim Giang looks up at the horrifying ghost-like shadow of the lich right across. That voice rings in his ears, making him panic. "Surrender absolutely everything to me. Now watch closely." Dark energy rushes straight at Giang's eyes. Your body and that power. Suddenly, a massive phantom shadow aggressively circles right in front of the lich. "No, this vessel is mine." It opens its giant mouth and snaps right at him. "You dare invade my personal territory without a single ounce of fear?" The lich looks absolutely shocked and screams out, "What is this?" On the other side, Ares still stands perfectly still, trying desperately to break free. Suddenly he gets completely stunned, feeling a massive shift in the lich's magic power. Ares gasps in shock, hearing him yell, "You!" The massive shadow is slowly devouring the lich. What on earth did you bring here? Staring at the light from his eye, he thinks, now is the time. Next, Ares gathers magic energy and powerfully swings his sword high. The lich is totally shocked as that sword aura slices him clean in half. You and I saw this coming. Staring at his dissolving body, he yells, "This is!" He gets swallowed whole, just shouting out in total denial, "This is completely impossible." Finally, the body of the lich completely fades away into thin air. Suddenly, Ares jolts, hearing a low growl nearby. He instantly snaps his head back around and screams out, "Giang!" He frowns in pure pain, asking what just happened. The staff beside him suddenly flashes a blinding blue light. Right after that, the purple magic of the lich rapidly spreads all over the place. That massive energy wave aims straight for Kim Giang sitting right on the ground. Ares looks back at the lich's remaining magic. It completely surrounds Kim Giang, turning his entire body stiff, frozen totally in place. As more magic invades his body, Kim Giang collapses onto the ground, screaming in pain. Ares screams out anxiously, "Jian!" Swirling magic energy violently wraps around Kim Giang inside. Ares watches in absolute panic, realizing that it's an incredibly massive pool of magic. If he absorbs something like this? The magic fades, leaving Kim Giang totally flat on the dirt. He sprints over fast. "Jian, wake up!" Ares looks at Kim Giang with pure dread. What is wrong? Is this a nasty side effect from absorbing that lich? Suddenly, a random voice from behind makes him jump out of his skin. "Loras Copiers!" Ares freezes up, not moving an inch. After a second, he finally turns his head to look. Aquan steps forward in high heels, walking straight over to this exact spot. Amidst the absolute chaos, a loud voice calls out, "Kim Giang, you must find Anya." A few seconds later, his eyes snap wide open as Kim Giang frantically sits straight up. He screams, pausing to look around this weird place. "Trust me, you will want to see what happens next. Stick with me here." Kim Dan freezes for 3 whole seconds, shaking his head and muttering, "Uncle Ares, Chloe too!" Panic fully sets in. What is going on here? Where did absolutely everyone go? Then Kim Dan catches a glimpse of a bag and a paper right in front of him. He quickly picks it up. The note reads, "Extremely urgent matters came up, so we had to leave first. The lich monster was completely destroyed thanks to you, Ares." But Kim Dan still feels totally confused. He has literally never seen these specific letters before. So how in the world is he able to understand them? He sits there completely stunned, wondering. But the way more important question right now is, has he seriously just been abandoned? Let's rewind a few minutes. Ares squints into the distance, observing the woman standing right in front of him, and demands, "What are you doing here?" This woman with flowing long hair walks up in a super alluring outfit right as Ares calls out her name, Aquanes. Her beautiful face is clearly not unfamiliar to him at all. Aquanes slowly approaches to deliver the royal command, Loras Klepios. "His Majesty the Emperor is demanding your immediate presence right now." Now watch this part closely. Ares instantly draws his weapon, demanding to know why it is happening so suddenly. She smirks with pure mockery. "After all this time, why are you still acting so incredibly shocked?" Aquanes steps closer to mock him. "Does His Majesty ever actually need to ask for your opinion or your permission first?" Ares turns silent and deep in thought. Right after saying that, she summons raw spiritual energy in the palm of her hand, continuing, "You will get the specific details back at the palace." In a flash, Aquanes conjures up a glowing red circle, making her own deduction. "Anyway, it really looks like your business in this place is completely finished up now." Suddenly, a loud shout rings out, "Uncle Ares!" Instantly catching both of their attention, Chloe presses a hand to her chest, asking with heavy worry, "Is Dan going to be okay? And what about that insane lich monster?" A second later, she completely freezes, her face turning incredibly tense and filled with sheer panic. Seeing Aquanes just smiling and casually waving her hand, Chloe asks with deep suspicion, "Who are you?" Instantly, Kim Dan's unconscious body is teleported right down to Ares' feet, making the young girl loudly cry out his name, "Dan!" Chloe frantically rushes over to him, desperately begging, "Dan, you have to wake up right now." A familiar voice makes her stop and look up in surprise. "Please try to stay calm, Chloe." He drops down to one knee to assess the situation. It looks like he just temporarily passed out from the massive shock of absorbing the lich entity. His life is not in any real danger at all. Aquanes stands opposite them, crossing her arms with a soft chuckle. Suddenly, Ares furrows his eyebrows in serious thought. "You and I saw that coming, right?" Staring intensely at Kim Dan's body, Ares clearly has some serious lingering doubts, but he suddenly opens his mouth and yells, "Hey, Chloe!" Ares firmly instructs her, pack some food and a map into a small bag, and make sure to leave it behind for Dan. Even though she is surprised, Chloe obediently complies. "Yes, I understand." Meanwhile, Aquanes just stands still waiting for them, squinting her eyes with a hint of genuine wonder. She stares intensely at Kim Dan's face, secretly doubting to herself, did that kid actually manage to absorb a lich? She gently places a hand over her mouth. "Well, look at that." Aquanes smiles wickedly, feeling incredibly smug deep inside her own mind. Aiden and I just so happened to overhear an absolutely fascinating little story. Right at that exact moment, Ares cuts the tension and loudly announces, "Alright, let's move out." Startling her as she scolds herself, "Oh my, this terrible habit of mine is really not good." Right before taking his leave, he carefully leaves the bag and a single note behind for Kim Dan to find. And this is where we leave it. Ares and Chloe walk toward the portal, but he suddenly stops dead in his tracks right before Aquanes. Ares looks down with heavy eyes and whispers, "I have a warning for you." Radiating absolute killer intent, he emphasizes, "You had better watch yourself. Keep your distance and stay far away from that boy." "Stick with me here." She calmly listens to Ares dropping a chilling threat, "Back off if you value your life." With that, he steps right through the portal, while Chloe throws one last regretful glance back at Kim Giang. A second later, her eyes shift to him too. Meanwhile, our guy is completely knocked out, oblivious. Agnes then turns her back, smirking as she mutters, "I will definitely remember this." In a flash, her spirit energy portal vanishes completely. Back to reality. He sits in his new clothes, sulking seriously. How heartless. Kim Giang gets teary-eyed, feeling genuinely heartbroken inside. "We haven't even been together that long, but I thought we were already as close as actual family." He suddenly looks up and screams, "And yet you guys just left me behind. Was I really the only one being sincere this entire time?" Absolute silence is his only answer, making him stop mid-rant. He scratches his head, figuring, whatever, I'm sure they had some unavoidable reason for doing this. Holding up the letter once more, his mind is just completely full of question marks. Uncle Ares even wrote that we beat the lich thanks to me, but honestly, what did I actually even do? He stares at his own hands, totally confused. I don't feel stronger at all, so there's no way I actually absorbed its power. Our MC just stands there frozen for a few solid seconds. Then an evil smirk crosses his face. If that's the case, let's grab some alternative loot instead. Here's where it gets interesting. He jumps up cheering beating a giant boss means epic loot drops, right? Items instantly materialize in his hands. Heroic Tear, the Cursed Elf, Skull Orb. Next up is the Legendary Tear. The Staff of Agony and Despair. He stares blankly at the massive loot pile. Unique Tear, Brutal Scream Demon Sword. Legendary Tear, the Blood Ritual Dagger. Heroic Tear, Terrifying Phantom Warhammer. He lets out a heavy sigh. Yeah, never mind. Touching these feels like catching an instant, absolute death curse. Going outside, there's a map and a compass already laid out for him. He picks them up, completely baffled. Just one map and a single compass? He scratches his head, quietly groaning. For a guy who relies entirely on phone GPS apps, this old-school navigation is way too hardcore. Frowning, he tries to analyze it. Based on the map's symbols, crossing the western forest leads to a village. Looking at the sheer distance, he whines, "That is insanely far." In the end, I'm stuck completely solo again. Not long after, a stray skeleton takes a massive, direct hit. Holding his stick, our boy bends down to watch it dust away. You and I both know surviving alone is tough. For 3 whole months, he's been soloing this brutal wasteland entirely. Thanks to the precious knowledge he learned from him and Chloe, he's made it this far without running into major trouble. Even though the journey itself has been incredibly, painfully lonely. And finally, his eyes go wide. He actually managed to escape that desolate, ruined wasteland. Fresh grass and vibrant green trees. It's the very first time he's seen anything like this in almost a year. He takes a deep breath in. The scent is absolutely amazing. Finally, a beautiful, peaceful view. No more bloodthirsty monsters or blinding, endless sandstorms. Suddenly, a massive explosion erupts just a short distance away. He facepalms hard. You and I both knew he totally jinxed it. Cutting to a small blue puddle, frantic footsteps come rushing in, splashing heavily right into the water. Stick with me, watch, and sprinting through the dark forest, sweating bullets and absolutely terrified. He grits his teeth, muttering curses. Damn it, just his luck. He does not even notice the massive dark shadow closing in, just wondering why. A split second later, something slams right where he was standing, blasting, aimed completely sideways. Momentum sends his entire body crashing hard into the dirt, while a terrifying feral roar shakes the air. Anne is in absolute panic mode. How could a monster this terrifying spawn in a place like this? A massive dragon, radiating pure killing intent, instantly stomps right toward his helpless body and scrambles backward, completely paralyzed by raw fear. Seriously, why the hell is a legendary dragon showing up here? He squints against the overwhelming pressure. He freezes up. It is useless. And remembers Robert, slumped lifelessly against a tree trunk. Even Robert himself, the strongest martial artist in their entire party, was completely slaughtered before he could land a single scratch. So what is a pathetic bottom-tier bronze rank hunter like him supposed to do against this beast? They were only supposed to come here to clear out a few weak low-level goblins. Meanwhile, the dragon closes the distance. Losing patience, the monster opens its massive jaws wide and squeezes his eyes shut tight. Is this really the absolute end? Now here is where things get wild. Right at death's door, Anyosa charges in, striking the dragon, and slowly peeks open. She glares right back at the colossal beast, not showing a single drop of fear. Sitting behind her, he shouts her name! Anyosa hears him, turning her head to urgently yell back. Zenan, what the hell are you just sitting there for? Get up on your feet, hurry! He stumbles up, following her order, but asks the obvious, why did she come back here? Didn't I already tell you I would stay behind as bait so everyone else could escape? Anyosa grips her weapon tight, speaking with absolute heroic confidence. Did you seriously think I would let you hog all the glory and play hero alone? Deeply moved, and softly calls her name. A second later, he bites his lip, forcing himself to calm down, muttering all right, and quickly steps up right behind her. He tightly grips the hilt of his own weapon and asks, you definitely have some sort of genius plan, right? Anyosa flashes a cheeky grin, mocking him. If I had a master plan, Robert would not have died. You and I both knew she was bluffing. She locks eyes on the dragon and quickly warns him. When I count to 3, run for your life and do not look back, and furrows his brows accepting the grim reality. I understand. Anyosa loudly starts the count. 1. By now, the dragon's massive tail is mere inches from striking her body. And with just one single hit, Anyosa's blown away right in front of him and completely freezes, jaw hitting the floor. He sees Anyosa collapsed in a crater and frantically screams her name. Exactly at that moment, 2 arrows shoot right past Tam from behind, aiming directly for the fierce dragon's head. He panics! This will not work! Pale-faced, Anne glances backward, quickly putting the terrifying pieces together. If even she ran back here to fight, then what? He instantly spots her gripping her bow, violently shaking as she mutters. Seri stands there, eyes welling up, voice quivering with terror. I am so sorry, Anne, but I could not just cruelly abandon everyone and run away by myself. And screams at the top of his lungs. Ceres, you need to get out of here right now. As soon as he speaks, the dragon stomps hard, launching itself high into the air. Ceres is completely rooted to the spot, looking up and praying. No, please, somebody do something. It opens its jaws wide, extending its long tongue toward her. Ceres stays frozen, desperately waiting for a miracle. Is anybody out there? Please save us. Her pupils dilate in pure, sheer horror. Tears fall. Suddenly, Kim Giang leaps from nowhere, smashing his staff right onto the dragon's skull. Trust me, you and I are going to love what happens next. Stick with me here. Ceres and Anne are absolutely speechless right now. Seconds later, his face turns serious as the stick in his hand glows brightly. Almost immediately, those two bow a full 90 degrees. Anne practically yells his thanks. We are incredibly grateful for your massive help. By the way, that giant dragon is completely dead behind them. Kim Giang just scratches his head, awkwardly waving his other hand, replying politely, I really did not do anything that huge, and suddenly grabs his hands, instantly firing back. No way, do not be so incredibly modest. His eyes are shining like stars as he screams out, Giang, you are literally the absolute savior of our entire lives right now, and turns over to where Anyosa lies, blurting out a whole speech. If it was not for you stepping in to help, Giang, every single one of us would be dead right now. And thank God Anyosa actually managed to keep his life. He then sneaks a quick peek behind him. Now pay close attention to this part. The fact that he actually ended a massive dragon with just one single strike, that is completely and utterly unimaginable to them. And notices the top of its head is completely caved in, bleeding out without stopping. Super curious, could it be, Giang? He boldly asks, you are actually a super high-ranking hunter, right? Kim Giang just purses his lips, completely clueless on how to answer the dozen questions Anne is throwing out. Could he really be a gold rank? Or do not tell me you are actually a platinum rank. After that, both Ceres and Anne go totally silent, eagerly waiting for his answer. But Kim Giang just pours a bucket of cold water on them, asking, what exactly are you guys even talking about? Those two absolutely freeze, looking confused beyond belief. He just gives a forced smile, his head filled with question marks. Shortly after, Anne carries Anyosa on his back, feeling pretty suspicious. So it turns out, and spins around to look at him and asks, are you seriously from an entirely different world right now? Kim Giang scratches his cheek and admits, yeah, that definitely sounds way too crazy, right? He leads the group and denies it. No way, I firmly believe that our life-saving benefactor would never ever lie to us. Ceres, hogging a pile of weapons behind them, starts wondering, even though I have never seen this, but since instant teleportation magic literally exists here, this whole thing is totally possible too. You and I both know the answer here, traveling between dimensions, right? Anne agrees. Ceres actually makes a lot of sense. Even we cannot fully understand every single corner of this mysterious world just yet. Meanwhile, he turns and offers her some help. Are you totally sure you do not need me to carry those heavy things for you? Absolutely no need. Ceres hugs them tight to her chest and refuses. How could I ever dare ask our amazing savior to do a job like that? He sighs tiredly in his mind. It really seems like his specific situation is pretty incredibly rare around here. And suddenly turns his head back, bringing up earlier. Oh right, I was actually so unbelievably shocked a moment ago. He remembers that crazy flash of blue spiritual energy and recounts, Suddenly, a weird monster appeared out of nowhere and swallowed that entire dragon corpse whole and permanently etched the glowing stick into his memory and yells. Right after that, it completely transformed into an iron mace. It was giving off an absolutely terrifying amount of pure magical power. His eyes are glowing super bright right now, overwhelmingly curious about it. Over in the world you live in, does every single person possess insane special abilities exactly like that one? As for Giang right now, Seri standing behind Kim Giang is admiring him just as much. He just looks away to the side, giving a completely vague answer, I guess so, and immediately gasps. Exactly as I predicted, that is just completely mind-blowing stuff. Kim Giang thinks to himself, it is probably way better to let them keep misunderstanding than sitting down to explain everything. Suddenly he stops guessing and points out, it looks like we have finally reached our destination, and stares blankly straight ahead, feeling suspicious. This place right here is actually? He carefully observes the massive territory right ahead. And trust me, we are in for a ride at the mysterious Eastern Lemania Kingdom. Let's dive in. The City of Death. Kim Giang suddenly bites his lip, tears welling up, and notices this and asks with genuine worry, is something wrong, man? Or is this place not what you expected? He quickly wipes his tears away, shaking his head. No, of course not. Kim Giang lowers his hand, hesitating for a second. It is just that. He watches the bustling crowds of people walking by and sighs. It has been way too long since I have seen a lively place like this. A bit later, Kim Giang is absolutely devouring some red meat, then grabs a beer and chugs it down. He slams the empty mug onto the table, completely satisfied. With slightly flushed cheeks, he stares at the feast in front of him, thinking to himself, I honestly never expected that the very first beer I would drink as an adult would be in a completely unfamiliar world. Actually, it is not like I have never taken a sip before. But you and I can tell, the flavor in this world hits totally differently. He rests his chin on his hand deep in thought. Their names were An and Seris, right? Those two told him they would check on the rest of their squad and come right back. Before leaving, An had given him a heads up. We have to treat Ayosa's injuries and finally put Robert's body to rest. Kim Giang respectfully offered his condolences.
Did you just say your party lost a teammate?
Hearing that, the guy could only let out a heavy sigh. And handed him a small pouch of coins, advising him, it is not much, but please rest up at the nearby inn. We will come find you as soon as we can. He reached out and accepted the pouch. Thank you. I really appreciate this. Snapping back to reality, Kim Giang glances at the money pouch, muttering to himself, I am sure they will be back here after getting some rest. He nods slightly, lost in his own thoughts. But the most important thing right now, Kim Giang looks around the busy tavern, confirming his wild theory. I know what you are thinking. Yes, he truly crossed into another world. Everyone here is happily enjoying the lively atmosphere. The servers keep pouring beer non-stop. Kim Giang rests his chin on his hand. So what should I do first? Honestly, grabbing a good sleep sounds like the best plan for now. Time steadily passes by. Bright, warm sunlight shines down brightly on the entire area. He finally sits up, still feeling super groggy and half asleep. Kim Giang just zones out in the room for a while. A few seconds later, he wipes drool from his mouth, fully realizing it. How long has it been since I actually slept in a real, comfortable bed like this? I literally slept completely through the day. Suddenly, a loud knocking sound echoes from the heavy door. Kim Giang lazily cracks the door open, asking who it is. Ayosa is standing there with his body fully bandaged. Seri steps up to the front and speaks. Did you manage to sleep well, Giang? Unlike the other two, Ayosa looks pretty annoyed, while Seri smiles brightly, clearly waiting for him. Kim Giang stares at her, genuinely surprised. Shortly after, the whole group heads down the stairs together. Seeing them, Anne immediately stands up and waves. Over here, Giang! Come join us!
He warmly welcomes Kim Giang with a huge smile. A table full of steaming hot food is ready.
Anne starts talking. Ayosa kept insisting on meeting you face to face, just to properly say thank you. She grabs her beer, her face blushing bright red as she argues. I never said anything like that! Anne raises his hand, continuing his thought. Yesterday was just pure chaos, so I never actually got the chance to properly introduce myself to you. Kim Giang scoops up a spoonful of food. Hey, no need to be so formal. Thanks to you guys, I finally got a really comfortable night of rest, and places a hand on his chest. Let me properly introduce myself. I am Anna Hunter, and trust me, you and I are going to love this. Bronze rank, part of a party called Righteous Journey. He turns to Aniosa, and this is my party member right here. Aniosa shyly speaks up. Thank you so much for what you did. Anne keeps the introductions rolling smoothly. And here is Seris, the absolute only dedicated support in our entire party. Kim Giang looks totally confused and just has to ask, hey, what exactly do hunters and these badges actually mean anyway? Aniosa leans all the way forward and gasps. Wait, what? You and I both know that, look, it is honestly like he just asked what 1 + 1 actually equals. I vaguely remember Uncle Aries briefly mentioning something about silver and gold ranks a little while back. And cheerfully replies, I am so terribly sorry. You probably just do not understand this land very well yet. He quickly starts breaking it down. First off, a hunter is someone who hunts wild beasts, takes down dangerous monsters, or handles random requests. But you can only do all that if you are an official member of the Hunter Association. Hunters usually team up, minimum of 2 people, but a 4-man squad is definitely the most common. And then brings up the badges. That is the exact rank the association assigns every single hunter, going from lowest to high. Pay attention here. Steel, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and finally midrin. That covers all the tiers. Some squads actually mix and match members from completely different rank levels. But since quests are always handed out based entirely on the rank of the lowest member, most hunters just prefer teaming up with people at their exact same level. He drops more lore. Steel and bronze hunters mostly just hunt wild animals or deal with low-level monsters. Besides that, they also take on a few random odd jobs just to scrape together some extra cash. And shares everything he knows about the system. Silver badge holders? Those guys are total veterans who specialize in wiping out serious monster threats. I know what you are thinking, but most hunters actually retire way before hitting that silver tier. He keeps rambling on. Gold rank hunters are the absolute elite of the elite. Even in a massive guild branch, you will only find maybe 3 or 4 squads like that. From the gold rank onwards, they usually act as leaders for silver squads, rather than forming a party made entirely of gold ranks. And explains this all so smoothly. As for platinum hunters, I am not totally sure, but rumor has it the whole association has less than 20. In my entire life, I have literally never had the chance to see someone like that in person. He really emphasizes this next part. And finally, the midrin badge. Pure, flawless white silver. You and I need to let this sink in. Throughout this entire continent's history, only 10 have ever existed. And continues right along. And even at this exact moment, there are only 3 active hunters holding that midrin badge. They are seriously walking, breathing, living legends out here. Kim Giang eats while thinking. So that is how it is. This actually seems like a super serious deal. He goes right on lecturing. A badge is not just for raw power, it is your official identification and the ultimate mark of pure trust. That is exactly why any Lost Hunter badges always sell for insanely high prices on the underground black market. Of course, faking a hunter identity is a massively heavy crime you do not want to commit. To upgrade your badge, you are forced to accept and complete a ton of quests directly from the association. Anne holds his palm out. Our party is currently sitting at the bronze rank. So what do you and I make of this? Nothing to really brag about, but it pays the bills. He finally speaks up. I get it now. Let's dive right back in. His brain is basically melting from all this new information. And suddenly hesitates. Since they are already on the topic, Jiang cannot help but feel curious. The guy finally speaks up, saying they would really love it if Jiang joined their active party. Completely confused, he asks, "Me?" The guy quickly waves his hands, loudly trying to explain himself. They aren't trying to force him at all, but it is super obvious he's completely lost in this world. And to survive here, he's definitely gonna need some serious cash and official status. Plus, their team just happens to have an empty slot open. Jiang shoves food into his mouth, silently thinking. They actually have a point, at least until he figures out a way back home. He has to adapt to this society fast, which means he's going to need money and solid info. And Yura suddenly stands up and chimes in. They heard he's ridiculously, almost unfairly strong. According to the stories from Anand's series, he literally took down a massive dragon with just one single, absolutely devastating strike. If that is true, then taking on quests means he never has to worry about dying. Suddenly, a sharp voice rings out, calling it a blatant lie. She freezes, completely confused as she turns around. Watch closely here. The stranger slams her hand on the table, asking if he really killed the dragon in one strike. She frowns, totally rejecting the insane claim. She mocks them, saying they should at least come up with a lie that is somewhat believable, right? Jiang's face instantly darkens. Is this just another completely brand new face shown up here? Anyura scowls, trying to shoo her away. She tells her to stop interrupting them immediately, and demands that Mary gets out of her sight right now. She is a human noble. The arrogant oppressor, leader Mary Chatillon, puts a hand over her mouth and sarcastically gasps. Since when were filthy little pets actually allowed to sit at the same table as humans? She complains about shedding fur, ordering them to make the beast eat down on the floor right where it belongs. That insult drives her absolutely crazy, and she starts screaming furiously. "What kind of garbage did you just say?" And quickly steps in, begging Yura to calm down before things escalate. A second later, Mary narrows her eyes, stating she has never seen his face around before. "Are you really the guy who supposedly slaughtered that dragon?" Jiang just rolls his eyes and casually answers, "Yeah." She crosses her arms, questioning him. "Then did you happen to bring back any loot from it?" "You saw this coming, right?" She points out he could have made a massive fortune off its corpse. Hearing that, Anna stammers, trying to explain. Catching on to his hesitation instantly, Mary lets out a mocking laugh. She places her hands on the table, leaning right into his face with total confidence. Of course you don't have it, because from the very beginning this whole thing was just a pathetic lie. Giang can't hold back his anger anymore and snaps, saying he was really trying to let this slide. But seriously, everyone has their limits. Mary isn't scared, completely challenging him instead. Oh, really? And what if I just feel like crossing that limit anyway? She unleashes a burst of killing intent, loudly provoking him. Let's see it. What exactly can a nobody like you possibly do to stop me? That does it. The last thread of his patience completely snaps right down the middle. Giang immediately flares his own power, smirking with absolute pure disdain. He mutters that this annoying little short kid is really starting to get on his nerves. Mary loses her mind, screaming out loud, "Short kid?" Coming from some lowly peasant who crawled out of nowhere, he fires right back without missing a beat, asking her what she just called him. A lowly peasant? Right in the middle of this heated argument, some guy jumps in front of her to intervene. He desperately apologizes. Giang just scowls at him, having absolutely zero clue what is even happening right now. The guy just smiles. Mary glares at him. Trust me, we gotta see what happens next. Alright, you and I are jumping right into this standoff. Brian, the noble high elf, turns to remind her, "I am sincerely sorry, my lady, but I honestly think we are currently bothering them. We should head back to our seats." He grabs her shoulder and urges, "Alright, let's just go eat now." Standing right behind them, Jian scowls and yells, "Hey!" Mary furiously shakes him off, screaming, "Let go of me!" Jian heavily slams his hand onto Brian's shoulder, aggressively shouting, "Hey, I was still talking. Who exactly do you think you are to just interfere?" In a split second, the elf's whole attitude completely shifts as his eyes narrow. Brian turns his head, his voice suddenly oozing with pure bloodlust. "I simply suggest we stop everything right here, understood?" Seeing this intense aura, Jian is temporarily speechless. He just smirks and scoffs coldly. Seriously, what a joke! Now watch this closely. Jian's face completely darkens as he violently snaps. "You two are truly starting to piss me off now." The tavern's atmosphere instantly turns incredibly tense. Jian and Brian just lock eyes, neither one backing down. Suddenly someone taps his leg and speaks up. "Come on, why is everyone making the atmosphere in here so insanely tense?" He looks up to casually play the peacemaker. "You too, Brian, that is more than enough." The guy glares right at her, pointing out the obvious. Mary was clearly the one at fault from the start. Seeing this, Brian can only let out a heavy sigh. He turns back to Jian, adding, "Plus, we seriously owe this guy a massive apology." Eren, the noble high-blooded dwarf, puts his hands on his hips to calmly explain, "Thing is, your story about one-shotting a literal dragon is just really hard to instantly believe. I am guessing that is exactly why she acted so rudely, so please forgive her behavior." In response, he only gets pure silence from an annoyed Jian. He looks down, quietly thinking, "The smallest guy here is actually the most mature one, so whatever, let's drop it." Then Eren immediately starts scolding, "I literally told you to stop them, so why on earth did you join the argument instead?" "You saw that, right?" He glances back, and honestly, Ann and Ceres are just sitting completely speechless. Jian just scratches his head, letting it go. "Alright then. I really do not want any more trouble, so please just take her away." Standing next to Brian, Eren raises his hand and replies, "Thank you so much for understanding." He stares at Mary, acting foolishly, provoking him until he gets so mad his voice literally shakes as he suggests, "Can you quickly take Mary out of here before she actually causes a massive disaster?" Right after that, Ceres happily praises him. "Jian, you held back incredibly well just now. Miss Mary just has a sharp tongue, but her heart is actually good." "Maybe so." He turns around and hesitantly takes a seat. Anyway, Jian's very next question makes both Anne and Ceres instantly jump in surprise. "If I really want to officially become a registered hunter..." He frowns and asks, "What exactly is the first step I need to take?" and places a shiny badge onto Jian's palm, holding up one finger with a bright smile. "You simply need to pay a basic registration fee. That is it." His hype completely dies down, wondering if everything always just comes down to money. And casually wonders, "But do you even have money? The cash I gave you earlier probably is not much now." Jian just murmurs quietly, "I remember my companions actually gave me a little bit." He quickly opens the small coin pouch that Ares and Chloe had generously prepared for him. Jan stares in total confusion. "One coin?" But Anne instantly realizes that it's a solid gold coin. He raises his hand to clearly explain, "The actual value of one single gold coin equals 1,000 crowns. Each type of coin has a set exchange rate. The values from smallest to largest include 1 crown, 10 crowns, 100 crowns, and 1,000 crowns." Jian immediately gets super hyped and asks, "So this is enough to pay the fee?" "Trust me, that's all he needs!" And happily confirms, "Of course, registration is only 500 crowns. Stick with me here." His face instantly goes pale. Half a gold coin? The four of them just stand there in complete, awkward silence. Shortly after, Anne stands up to excuse himself. He says they will take their leave now while he gets his hunter registration fully sorted out. Kim Giang looks confused and curious. Are you guys really leaving right now? Anne turns back around, explaining that they still have a ton of things to organize before starting their big subjugation mission. He tells Jian to take some time, rest up, and prepare himself thoroughly for what is coming. Anne leaves him with a quick reminder. Let us meet back at this exact spot in 3 days. Our boy is absolutely stunned. He mutters, wait, I have to wait 3 whole days? Anne just smiles, letting out a small sigh before revealing a cool detail. The inn Jian is staying at is actually run by the Hunter Association. He suggests that since most of the people hanging around there are fellow hunters, it is the perfect chance for him to network and make some connections. And gestures right toward the sticky notes on the massive information board. Now pay attention, because this advice matters. He suggests trying some small quests if he gets bored, and kindly offers that if he still has not found a team or a place to go after 3 days, he should totally join their group. Of course, even if he decides not to officially join the squad, they will still tackle that subjugation mission together anyway. Kim Giang cheerfully replies to him, promising that he will think about their generous offer very carefully. Before walking away, Anne and Yosa leave him with one final warning. Stay right here and do not wander off too far. Seri says her goodbyes, hoping to see him later. He simply waves his hand back, telling them not to worry about him at all. Kim Giang lets out a heavy breath, watching them leave. A few seconds pass. He sighs in pure frustration, muttering about what an incredibly chaotic morning this has been. Looking closely at the tiny badge in his hand, he scoffs. So basically this little piece of junk is worth a massive 500 crowns. Eating his meal, he starts doing the math in his head. The bread and soup he had this morning only cost 3 crowns per person. Meanwhile, the booze, meat, and the room rent from yesterday added up to exactly 25 crowns total. Suddenly, pure panic sets in as realization hits him. You and I both know this feeling. Does this single gold coin equal 20 whole days of food and rent? Think about how much stuff that money could buy. He literally slams his face onto the table, whining about how much he misses his hometown. Is there seriously not a single baseball player in this entire crazy fantasy world? A luxurious life of pure wealth was literally right in front of him. Kim Giang wails and cries in total agony. But now, he is forced to go back to stressing out over every single penny. Suddenly, he completely freezes. He remembers exactly what Anne told him earlier. A subjugation quest, right? Maybe I should actually start getting my gear ready for this, he thinks. A short time later, Kim Giang is decked out in a fresh hunter jacket, matching pants, and a sturdy club strapped right across his back. The shopkeeper looks at him, totally hyped, and praises him. Oh my goodness! That outfit honestly looks absolutely amazing on you, valued customer. Then she drops the price. That will be 230 crowns total, sir. I mean, my incredibly loyal VIP customer! Kim Giang is utterly speechless. So crazy expensive. As he leaves, she cheerfully yells out, "Please come back and support my shop next time." Walking down the street, Kim Giang quietly mutters to himself, "Thank goodness I was too scared of going broke to even look at the plate armor." Stepping out of the shop, he falls into deep thought. Watching the random people walking around the bustling streets, he wonders, what should I actually do first? Rubbing his chin, he feels totally conflicted inside. My pockets are basically empty right now. Maybe I should actually try picking up a quest? Cut straight to the tavern. Shin is busy wiping down a mug when she suddenly jumps. Kim Giang slams a piece of paper down on the bar right in front of her. He gives her a flashy, charming wink and says, "I want to register for a quest." Shin rejects him instantly. And that is where we leave it. You just registered today, buddy. These quests require a bronze badge, so you absolutely cannot take them right now. Stick with me here. Steel badge rookie quest kick off right on this side. Kim Giang hesitated. Yeah, I get it. So his peak epic first quest? Lugging heavy flour sacks around followed by scooping absolute filth out of dirty animal barns? Next up, washing massive smelly piles of random people's dirty laundry. Kim Giang gritted his teeth in pure frustration. They seriously call this hunting? This is literally just glorified errand boy duty. The hours drag on endlessly until the sun finally starts setting. He drags himself down the street, completely drained of every ounce of energy. He let out a heavy sigh. Just brutal manual labor all day long. There is absolutely zero sense of epic achievement in being this kind of low-rank hunter. He glances at the few coins in his hand, realizing his total payout for breaking his back all day is a measly 30 crowns. Talk about living hand to mouth, just scraping by day after day. His expression completely darkened. Life is genuinely tough no matter where you go. Up ahead, an old merchant is loudly hawking goods. Grab some delicious hot food right before you head out. Those sizzling, mouth-watering meat skewers instantly catch his full attention. Drooling, he mentally debated it. Just one single skewer could not hurt, right? After all that backbreaking work today, I definitely deserve this. He orders a mystery meat skewer for 3 crowns. One bite in, he gasps. Pure perfection. This random street food from some totally unknown world, yet it completely blew the mind of a modern guy like him, who was totally used to boring fast food. What the heck? The food in this place is just incredibly delicious. Wonder if they use some secret magic recipe. While he is happily eating, someone approaches him. Watch closely now. She pulls a compass, and blue magical aura points straight at him. She immediately locks her intense gaze onto him. Totally clueless, Kim Giang is still ordering, "Hey, hook me up with another skewer." Suddenly, someone grabs his shirt tightly from behind. "Gotcha, I finally found you." Still chewing his food, he freezes in place and turns around completely confused. Standing right there is an absolutely stunning, beautiful girl. Blushing red, she smiles gently. "My destined one." Later on, Kim Giang crosses his arms, completely baffled. "So what are you saying?" he asked again. "I am the chosen hero you are searching for," she nods seriously. "Exactly right." Squinting, he demands, "Based on what exactly?" Ariel quickly answers, "My master's divine prophecy." She confidently reveals the mystic compass. "I know what you are thinking, but whoever this thing targets is the world's absolute savior. And my sacred duty is supporting that exact hero. That is the ultimate prophecy left by my master." Zero belief in his eyes. A prophecy? Seriously? How can anyone actually believe that vague garbage? Remembering Dennis, Ariel completely stands her ground. "I believe it with my life, because my teacher is the legendary prophetic witch named Dennis." Kim Giang raised an eyebrow. "That witch Dennis or whatever?" She snaps right back. "Lady Dennis?" He blinks. "Is she a shaman?" "So, is she honestly even that famous?" Ariel frowns, her tone turning incredibly sharp. "Every single thing my master predicts comes true without even a millimeter of error." Like before, Dennis groaned. "My shoulder aches. Looks like heavy rain is coming today." Ariel hyped up the rain, but between you and me, her joints just hurt because she is super old. She instantly flew into a rage. "Stick with me here." Smashing the table, he roars. The sheer audacity. "Take back what you just said right now." Kim Giang panics a little and agrees. "Fine. My bad, I will take it back. Happy now?" he asks, reaching his hand out toward her. "So what if I am actually that destined hero you are talking about, Ariel?" Ariel frowns deeply and replies, "My master ordered me to assist, the chosen hero, no matter what it is you plan to do. My magic will definitely be a huge asset to you." Kim Giang simply crosses his arms and questions her. "Do you even know what my actual plans are?" She gasps in total surprise, asking him what he means. "Are you not gonna save the world?" He immediately shuts that down. "Absolutely not." Kim Giang reveals the truth. "My only goal right now is finding a way to get back to my own world." Ariel looks totally confused, asking about his original world. He slowly stands up, completely brushing off everything she just said to him. "I do not care who you are, or what kind of person your master was, or whatever this hero title is supposed to mean." Kim Giang just flat out rejects everything. And here is the twist we love. He has zero intention of saving this crazy world, because I have dozens of reasons to head back home as quickly as possible. He shoves his hands into his pockets and walks away, warning her. "So go find someone else. I have no idea who you are looking for right now. But that person is definitely not me." Ariel freezes up completely at Kim Giang shutting her down. And meanwhile, Mary watches them from the upper floor and gasps out loud. "Oh my goodness." A little while ago, Ariel was standing on a glowing magic circle. Tearing up as she listens to instructions, "Please take this with you, this magical item. This magic will guide you straight to your true destiny." Her eyes go wide with emotion as a voice inside her urges her onward. "Go now, Ariel." She can only catch a fading glimpse of Dennis standing there. For the last time, with the final message, step forward into your own destiny. Back to the present, several heavy sacks are stacked together. Kim Giang is panting hard now, dripping with sweat. The old lady smiles brightly and praises him. "Giang, you worked super hard again today." Ariel watches the lady hand over cash. You and I are probably wondering the exact same thing. What does this guy do all day? Why is he always doing these random odd jobs? The kind old lady continues. "You did a great job. So I am giving you a little extra bonus today." Kim Giang thanks her. "Thank you so much." Ariel feels super curious, wondering if he's really just that broke. So broke he has zero money? Ariel crouches down, questioning everything. "Master, is it possible that this guy is actually the destiny that you told me about back then?" She closes her eyes, her mind completely tangled up in knots. What should I do now? Suddenly, a voice calls out, "Are you seriously still following me all the way here?" Making Ariel startle and open her eyes wide. Kim Giang wipes his sweat and continues talking. "You have been tagging along behind me for this entire day already." He tries to advise, "Just drop it now and head back to your master, or whoever it is." Kim Giang rolls his eyes away and rejects it again. "Because I am not the epic hero from those legends that you keep talking about." Ariel slowly speaks up, "My beloved master, He is stunned hearing her say it. She has already passed away. Kim Giang looks down, instantly apologizing. I am sorry. I did not mean to bring up something sad. She stands up and changes the subject. You really want to return to your old world, do you not? Ariel walks right up to Kim Giang and firmly states, I will give you a hand. He listens in shock as she offers to help with going home or cleaning stalls. Trust me, we are in for a wild ride. Alright, stick with me here. No matter the obstacles, Ariel firmly repeats, I will always support you. Scene cuts to the Hunter Guild flags waving proudly. Someone is putting their heavy armor right up over their knees and quietly preps his gear. But suddenly, someone calls out his name, making him snap his head up to look. Ceres walks in, announcing that Jian is completely missing, and it looks like he is nowhere near the resting room either. And asks in total disbelief, really? That sounds super weird. Right then a voice interrupts, freezing them both in their tracks. Obviously that guy has already run away without a trace. She arrogantly declares, especially after bragging so much about taking down a dragon in just a single strike. He probably got scared of being exposed and bolted, and looks totally surprised as he calls out Mary by name. He is confused, fully geared up like that. What exactly are you doing here anyway? Mary twirls a strand of her hair and gasps out, wait, do you guys seriously not know anything yet? She recalls those truly terrifying monsters. Now pay close attention to this. Recent reports show strange monsters from outside the death zone are heavily swarming this entire area. Mary crosses her arms, standing in front of her party, bragging. That is why our noble, expert party personally took on the important mission to patrol this entire nearby area ourselves. Anne and Ceres listen closely, showing clear tension on their faces, and carrying out tasks like observing and protecting rookie hunters who are severely lacking in numbers, for example. And stop, sir. You can look down on me or Ceres. I will let that slide, but please do not insult Jian.
Veronica, a white beastkin from that noble expert group, asks curiously, so who exactly is this guy named Jian?
Brian glances over and replies,
Were you not there to see him?
He is the one. Ceres frowns and shouts loudly, interrupting the conversation. That is right. Jian is the absolute lifesaver who rescued us. If you keep up that totally disrespectful attitude of yours, we definitely will not just sit back. Mary raises an eyebrow, mocking them. The last time I saw him, your precious lifesaver, he actually seemed pretty busy going on a date. She freezes for a few seconds, looking totally confused as she asks, a date? Mary waves her hand, confirming, yeah, walking around with some random elf girl. Then they were talking about destiny and all that stuff. Mary winks sarcastically. It is so obvious they were deep in love, completely forgetting about the promise they made to all of you. Ceres instantly gets in Mary's face, her eyes glowing red in denial. That is a complete lie. Faced with this killing intent, Mary's face turns totally pale. Ceres glares widely in warning. Jian literally told us that he came from a completely different world. He knows absolutely nobody here except for us, so how in the world could he suddenly get a girlfriend in just a span of 3 days? Even your life should have a limit. My patience is seriously running out here. Right then, a voice rings out. Yeah, who said I was running away? By now, Mary has tears welling up in her eyes. Let that sink in for a second. Ceres slowly turns around. Brian stays perfectly calm while Anne looks completely shocked. Kim Giang gives a slight smirk, with Ariel standing right behind him. She acts shy, tilting her head slightly as he raises his hand to wave. Long time no see, everyone, and flashes a super bright smile, jumping up to yell loudly, Jian! A purely happy and joyful smile instantly appears right on his face. Kim Jian speaks up, making absolutely everyone turn their heads. I made it here just in time, right? But completely opposite to what he was expecting, Mary points her finger with a super frustrated attitude. You obnoxious, horrible traitor. That is where we leave it. Both of their faces freeze up as she angrily criticizes Kim Jian. We promised that we would form a party together, yet you secretly went ahead and joined up with someone else instead? Abby gets right up close, glaring with pure judgment. You are an absolutely shameless traitor who doesn't know when to quit. But he just scowled, grinding his teeth together in pure annoyance. Why exactly are you meddling in this business anyway? Sitting over there, Anne looked pretty awkward and quickly explained. This whole thing was completely voluntary, zero pressure involved, so it really has absolutely nothing to do with us. But stick with me because nobody saw this wild situation coming. Ariel, on the other hand, looked incredibly amused right now. Wait, a female mage from the legendary elf tribe? This is literally the first time in my entire life seeing a real elf. He got super friendly and asked about their backstory. So what crazy twist of fate actually brought you two together? Kim Giang just scratched his head, looking totally annoyed and dodging the question, explaining that whole mess would be way too complicated right now. But Ariel just honestly spilled the truth instead. I was actually the one who went out of my way to find him. The way she said it definitely carried a super romantic vibe. The red string of fate literally guided me right to him. Hearing that, Anne's face turned completely red as he panicked. What did you just say? Meanwhile, Ceres just sat there completely frozen stiff. At the other table, Brian sat totally silent, arms crossed. Kim Giang practically jumped out of his chair, absolutely furious as he warned her. Hey, do not use words that cause massive misunderstandings like that. He rubbed his nose, looking super awkward as he made a guess. This place is about to turn into the center of a literal romance story. And managed to calm down and then curiously asked, so what exactly is your name anyway? She quickly introduced herself with a bright smile. My name is Ariel. He excitedly reached his hand out, super curious. Miss Ariel, are you planning on joining us for this massive subjugation trip too? She closed her eyes and answered with absolute confidence. Of course I am. I have absolutely zero interest in doing anything except helping Jiang. That is exactly why I went and got my own hunter badge yesterday. Anne looked a little surprised and awkward, answering shortly, I understand now. Brian took a sip of water, glancing over to comment, is she not the absolute perfect model of a loyal wife? Veronica leaned in close. You and I both see it, right? That is absolutely pure love. Back on this side, he spoke up to inform the whole group. Iosa sent a message saying he cannot make it because his injuries have not healed completely yet. Honestly, having an extra person join us makes everything feel a lot more secure. Kim Giang crossed his arms, face twitching as he guiltily took the blame. I am truly sorry. I really should have discussed this with everyone first. Anja smiled brightly to comfortably reassure him. Hey, it is no problem at all. He quickly stood up to ask the squad. Anyway, since everyone is finally gathered here, we should probably head out now, right? Kim Giang was totally ready, showing an expectant smile. Time to move out. Goblins. They are tiny creatures with the intelligence of a literal child, extremely aggressive natures, and they only use basic primitive tools. Their main goal is always attacking human settlements just to completely plunder all their valuable resources and steal their livestock. A single one on its own is not too dangerous. But pay attention here, because their annoying impact habits change absolutely everything. Stepping deep into the forest, Anne updated the whole party. Lately, reports of goblins harassing the tiny villages along the Siechok border have been popping up way more frequently. Last time we were hunting their lair, a wyvern attacked our squad, and that was exactly when we first ran into Jiang. Kim Giang listened and completely grasped the situation, so that is how it is. Suddenly, he glanced off to the side with a demand. Putting that aside for a second, Kim Giang had totally noticed the group trailing behind them. Why exactly are those guys constantly following us around like that? Anne quickly spoke up, recounting the situation to explain everything. Ever since that crazy wyvern incident, the monsters around the Siechok area have been increasing at a completely abnormal rate. So Mary is tagging along to protect us. Trust me, you and I are about to see something wild. Stick with me here, she winks, telling them to actually feel honored. Stepping up close behind, she raises her hand with pure disgust. We personally took pity. To protect lowly steel badge hunters like you guys, Kim Giang tries his hardest to hold his raging anger back, stepping forward. Is there seriously not a single normal person in your entire group? Meanwhile, the guy beside him actually starts praising them. Look, I totally get why you were annoyed after that first meeting. But despite how they act, this elite expert squad is actually super famous. And drops the load on this noble team. They formed just 2 years ago. But somehow hit silver badge rank in just one single crazy short year. Racking up massive wins, they are now the absolute top candidates. For the fastest gold badge promotion ever. Kim Giang turns away, utterly disgusted and not buying it. Them? Seriously? Mary keeps pushing, absolutely obsessed with interrogating Ariel. Is she really an actual elf? Where is she from? Brian steps up, awkwardly warning her. Miss, please stop bothering people and just come back over this way. And looks up, forcing a totally helpless smile. They really are a weird bunch. He tries so hard to keep cool, grimacing. One day, I am definitely slapping that arrogant brat right in the head. Suddenly, he spins around with a demand. But before that, watch closely as he confirms a few things. Anne starts calling out the battle plan. Jiang, since you pack heavy weapons, you take the front line. He quickly assigns the rest of the crew into their specific spots. Ceres and Miss Ariel will provide backup from behind. And suddenly remembers something and asks about her skills. Hey, Miss Ariel, what kind of magic do you use? She just looks totally lost. Tilting her head, totally clueless. What do you even mean? He scratches his face, super awkward now. Was that question really that confusing? So Anne has to break it down. I am no magic expert. But I heard it splits into a few different main systems. Things like destruction, enhancement, alchemy, summoning, and even dark necromancy. From what I know, there are tons of magic types. He carefully gives another example. Like Miss Veronica over there, she is an absolute beast at enhancement magic. Most mages focus all their energy into one specific field. Knowing your style helps us strategize, and rubs his neck, shyly admitting the truth. This is honestly my first time fighting alongside a real magic user. Mages usually need to be silver, badge tier, or higher. Finding even one is crazy rare. Ariel looks super annoyed, laying down facts. I was wondering what you meant. That much is just obvious. Now here's where it gets wild. Something drops down, her eyes completely changing. A deadly spear almost goes straight through Ariel's face. Thankfully, Giang reacts instantly, punching it away, and violently turns to see what happened. Ceres grits her teeth, instantly on guard. Someone spots the goblin screaming in terror. When did they even get here? Giang frowns, immediately putting his guard way up. Brian dashes out into the open, yelling, an actual ambush by a goblin horde? Out of nowhere, Mary steps in front of him, throwing her arms out wide. We do not need to fight, Brian. She wants these hunters to handle it. So what do you and I make of this? She just leaves them to deal with it on their own after all. They are supposed to be actual hunters. Alright, stick with me here. A roaring goblin rushes in, but gets absolutely punched straight in the face. The guy throwing hands is none other than Kim Giang. He turns around sweating bullets, looking totally stressed. The rest of the goblins are already wiped out, scattered all over the ground. Some got completely wrecked by deadly arrows. In just a flash, the team cleared them all out. He gets totally hyped, laughing and mocking them. These guys weren't even a threat at all, right? An puts his hands on his hips and praises him. Great job out there, Giang. Your skills are just next level. Meanwhile, Ceres nervously glances around the whole area. But this is super weird. Why would goblins actually ambush fully armed hunters like them? He completely agrees, feeling the exact same strange vibe. Exactly. Normally, goblins only target people who look weak, like kids or old folks going for easy prey. They even aimed right at Ariel first, and she is literally a magic user. Accidental or not, and rolls his eyes and reminds them of the main goal. Either way, we still need to track down their main hideout and completely wipe it out. He quickly catches on and throws out his own smart theory. There is a massive chance that their numbers don't just end with this small group. Kim Giang scratches his head, feeling pretty awkward and regretful. We really should have kept one alive to interrogate. Anyway, let's just push deeper inside now. Hearing that, everyone instantly panics, their faces dropping. Kim Giang gets curious and asks them, wait, what does their hideout even look like? Then he starts getting confused and worried about them. No, more importantly, do these things even have the ability to talk and communicate? Now watch closely, a massive creature suddenly appears right behind his back. He has absolutely zero clue, totally confused by everyone's sudden terrified reactions. Why? Is something wrong? And screams in absolute terror to warn him. Giang, watch out behind you! Hearing that, he calmly turns around to look. A wildly aggressive troll raises its claws. Luckily, Mary dashes in perfectly on time to save him. She looks super annoyed, moving with deadly precision. He just stands there, jaw dropped in shock. Anne's eyes go wide, everyone freezing in pure absolute shock. Kim Giang is totally stunned by her quick move and yells, Mary! Brian puts a hand on his shoulder and says, step back. Then he steps up, looking incredibly confident. Just let us handle things here. Kim Giang stays put, looking a bit hesitant. Brian walks forward, his gaze dead serious. He's totally shocked to see a troll here. You saw that too, right? A mountain troll showing up this close to the territory? Brian softly warns Mary. My lady, it seems something is genuinely going very wrong right now. Mary stays focused and warns the team, nobody drop your guard for even a second. She totally gets it and immediately warns everyone about the danger. This enemy is definitely not an easy target. Kim Giang just cannot stand still. He wants to help, saying we will join the fight too. But Anne suddenly speaks up and stops him, saying, no need. He fully understands the highly dangerous situation happening right at this moment. If we jump in right now, we will just get in their way. Afraid of hurting his pride, Anne explains. Of course we all know how insanely strong you are. At the same time, he also completely trusts that other squad. But this elite expert party is filled with incredibly battle-tested, experienced fighters. There is a huge chance we will completely ruin their perfect team. Anne nervously tries convincing him. Trust me, it gets wild. Stick with me here, let's just put our absolute trust in them for now. Kim Giang turns around, totally hesitating. Right behind him, Ariel just lets out this heavy, exhausted sigh. Brian quickly turns around. He barks out an order, Veronica, boost her combat spirit right now! She instantly shuts her eyes, frowning hard. Throwing her hands forward, Veronica triggers that massive combat spirit enhancement spell. Erin looks onto Brian, completely focused. A sharp, deadly glint flashes in her eyes. A wildly confident smirk spreads across Mary's face. Seeing this, his jaw just drops in pure shock. Wait, what? She can actually buff all three of them at the exact same time? The giant weasel just stands there, pure malice in its eyes, before violently launching off the dirt. It rockets straight toward Mary. She narrows her eyes, perfectly timing her next brutal move. Slamming her shield up, Mary blocks the massive strike. Gritting her teeth, she holds her ground. But of course, this monster isn't stopping there. Further back, Erin draws her bow. Brian instantly launches himself right behind her arrow. The weasel lets out a terrifying shriek as the shot connects, sending the beast tumbling backward. Mary glances back, spins around, and fully boosts Brian up into the air with her strength. She puts all her faith in Brian's skills. The confused weasel looks up, totally caught off guard. He violently slashes his dagger across its face. The monster immediately clutches its wildly bleeding eye. Are you seeing this? You and I are witnessing absolutely insane coordination right now. He honestly has to respect their legendary combat skills. Every member moves perfectly in sync, fighting as if they share one single body. A true veteran party. You can tell they've grinded hundreds of grueling battles together. Brian grits his teeth, sweating. He quickly realizes that even though he blinded it, his slashing wounds are just way too shallow. Panic setting in, he shouts a warning with this beast's insane regeneration. It'll heal in seconds. For a squad like us, lacking raw attack magic, this matchup is a total nightmare. But Mary just smirks, shifting tactics. If that's the case, we go straight for the heart, the core of its regeneration. Veronica, get yourself ready to cast. The Noble Expert Party. They are heavily praised as an elite combat squad. Great formation, sure, but I know what you're thinking. They have one massive, fatal weakness. Their absolute biggest flaw is a complete lack of raw, destructive physical power. Erin's crossbow takes way too much time to reload, making it incredibly hard to deal heavy damage to giant monsters. Brian, who fights right beside her on the front line, relies entirely on twin short swords. That makes his weapon totally useless against these massive, towering creatures. And Veronica, the only magic user in the squad, not only knows support magic, you definitely can rely on her for any kind of offensive attack. Mary, the vanguard leading the charge, wields a highly specific weapon, a massive lance. But since lances are meant for cavalry, the weight is shifted entirely to the back. So when an infantryman with limited mobility uses it, unleashing its true power is nearly impossible. So how do they survive? Trust me, you'll love their completely insane, brilliant workaround. Their secret method? Stacking every single extreme enhancement buff onto just one chosen person. Veronica tightly shuts her eyes. She violently screams out physical strength enhancement activated. Instantly, a blinding aura of golden light completely surrounds Mary. Movement speed buffed, absolute endurance fully enhanced. Veronica pushes her beyond human limits, weapon power boosted to the absolute max. Alright, stick with me here. Thanks to a ton of buffs, this infantry warrior just unlocked some crazy explosive power and speed in record time. She finally hits a speed that completely leaves real cavalry in the dust. Ceres literally drops her jaw in pure absolute shock watching this. Ariel frowns, watching her every single move with intense focus. And honestly, this exact power is why the Hunter Association gave her a special title, the Golden Unicorn. Seeing Mary charging straight at it, the troll completely panics. She rushes right in and pierces straight through its massive body. Mary flashes a wicked, excited smirk while Kim Giang just stands there completely frozen, jaw dropping, and reacts the exact same way, totally unable to process the absolute madness unfolding right before her. Mary literally blasted a massive gaping hole right through the middle of that troll. Bursting into joyful, mocking laughter, she shouts out, "A pathetic troll like that is absolutely nothing when it comes face to face with my power. How is that for our squad?" But right after saying that, Mary suddenly grabs her mouth. Now pay attention here, blood suddenly splatters absolutely everywhere. Anne is instantly terrified by the brutal scene that just happened. "Miss Mary." Brian sprints over, completely panicking over Mary's sudden collapse. "My lady!" Filled with absolute fear, he strongly reminds her once again, "I warned you that using this crazy method would put way too much pressure on your body." Mary turns back, keeping her cool. A true noble must always step up and set an example for everyone else. A tiny injury like this means absolutely nothing. She forces herself up and starts giving orders, completely unaware that a stray arrow has already pierced her chest. For now, we need to fall back and look for some extra support. Brian's face goes completely dark, frozen solid in place. Mary looks down at her own chest, totally confused. And just a second later, she suddenly collapses straight to the ground. Mary's face turns deathly pale as dizziness takes over. Hiding deep in the shadows, glowing eyes start staring right at them. It is a massive incoming swarm of trolls and goblins. Brian grits his teeth, taking a terrified step backward. What in the world is actually going on right now? They are completely surrounded on all sides, and looks faint, letting out a loud, absolutely terrified scream. You and I are thinking the same thing. Where did all these monsters come from? Suddenly, Mary screams out a name loudly. "Veronica!" Startled by the sudden shout, she stumbles and answers back awkwardly. "Yes, I am right here." Panicking hard, she barks out a desperate command. "You need to hurry and get them, along with Erin, out of this area right now." Snapping the arrow shaft, Mary makes a painful, heavy choice. "I am staying right here to hold them all back. And buy us some extra time." Seeing this, Erin instantly gets super worried, honestly unable to leave her behind. "Lady Mary!" Brian also rushes forward frantically, completely refusing to accept her insane demand to stay behind. "My lady!" Knowing exactly how they feel, Mary gently speaks up to calm them. Brian, I completely understand what you are trying to say right now. She still firmly draws her weapon and declares, but please, do not try to stop me. Struggling to stand, Mary holds tight to her intense noble pride, because this is the true heavy responsibility of being a noble. Now is the time for me to fulfill the absolute highest duty of my bloodline. He looks back at her, hesitating, completely heartbroken. But suddenly Kim Giang's voice rings out with unexpected praise. Well, doesn't that sound incredibly dramatic and heroic? He steps right up to her, dropping a serious reminder. But you are not allowed to just ignore me like that. Kim Giang swings the staff over his shoulder, questioning her. Do you honestly think I am the kind of guy who would run away and abandon his teammates? Everyone spins around, staring at him in total disbelief. Ariel tilts her head, looking completely and utterly baffled. Ceres' eyes shoot wide open at Kim Giang's bold words. Looking absolutely furious, Mary emphasizes her point again. Stop acting so incredibly stop. You need to leave this place immediately. Surely you saw the absolute madness of that battle just now. She honestly cannot even bring herself to trust his abilities. Besides, with a basic, primitive weapon like that, there is no way you could ever take down a goblin. Mary states the truth. Even if he gets lucky and kills one, well, trust me, you and I are in for a wild ride. Let's jump right in. One guy versus an entire monster horde, yet somehow Kim Giang looks completely unfazed. He smirks, getting it now. Compared to the absolute beasts he fought alongside Ares, this current mob, honestly, they don't even look like a threat. That cocky attitude absolutely sets her off. She snaps, telling him to cut the nonsense right now and just get moving already! They seriously are running completely out of time here. Right on cue, a massive troll ambushes them, throwing a brutal punch right behind Mary. The second she realizes it, she freezes, too late to dodge. Oh man, this is really bad. In a split second, Kim Giang dashes straight in, he strikes, and the giant troll quickly crashes backward. Mary just stands there completely stunned. Even Brian is caught off guard by Kim Giang moving that fast. The troll grabs its wounded shoulder in absolute agony. Meanwhile, our guy just provocatively calls out to Mary with a brand new nickname. Hey there, you super experienced veteran hunter. Kim Giang flashes her a questioning little smile and asks, so, what exactly is our next genius plan? Seeing Mary still hesitating, he gives her a quick reminder. Look around, everyone else is literally waiting for you to make a call here. Hearing that reality check, she quickly turns her head to look back. He speaks up too, firmly reassuring her, we are definitely going to fight right alongside you, no matter what. Erin smiles in total agreement, emphasizing her point. What kind of party member would ever abandon their own leader at a crazy time like this? Veronica nervously waits for Mary to say something too. Her face is totally pale, looking absolutely green with pure shock. Finally, Mary lets out a quick, helpless sigh. Gathering her resolve, she calmly opens her eyes back up. She steps up and finally gives the squad their battle orders. Brian and Ceres, you two prioritize taking down those goblins right now. There are way too many of them around. We have no choice but to handle them one by one. She carefully divides up the combat roles for everyone. While Giang takes on the trolls in one-on-one combat, the rest of us will distract and harass the remaining ones. Now watch closely, Ariel suddenly steps up and interrupts them. Hold on, placing her hands on her hips, she confidently volunteers. Just leave this entire mess to me. I got this. Kim Giang turns his head, totally surprised. He asks her curiously, do you seriously have a strategy figured out already? A mysterious, confident little smile appears on Ariel's lips. Suddenly, she tosses a question right back at him about earlier. Ah, you asked me earlier what my specialized magic was, right? Ariel finally starts explaining the true depth of her insane magical abilities. Honestly, I do not have anything you would call a single specialty. Her eyes light up brilliantly as she declares with absolute confidence, because there is literally no magic in this entire world that I cannot use. Then Ariel stretches her hand out forward, shouting at the top of her lungs, mana enhancement. She rapidly chants multiple incantations one after another. Next up on the list, focus enhancement. Ariel slowly starts to levitate right off the ground. A mental attribute amplification. A brilliant blazing red fire erupts all around her. Then she screams, Raging Fire Dragon! The massive spell violently blasts straight toward the monsters. A huge troll widens its eyes in absolute pure terror. A devastating tornado of fire sweeps right through the horde. The entire mob is instantly reduced to nothing but ash. Ariel points her staff forward, perfectly controlling the blaze. A whole section of the forest is completely swallowed by flames. You and I both know how broken that is, right? Ariel's magic staff is still glowing brightly while Kim Giang just stares wide-eyed in total shock. He just stays right behind her, intensely watching her back. Right after that epic display, she slowly turns her head back around. Ariel flashes a radiant smile and tells the squad, well, looks like that little problem is officially solved. As the roaring flames slowly fade away, massive specks of glowing ash drift beautifully across the air. Mary, still incredibly pale, suddenly bursts into loud, crazy laughter. She honestly cannot believe her own eyes right now. Finally reaching her limit, she completely collapses onto the hard ground. This entire situation is just way too absurd. Mary falls painfully face first into the dirt. Everyone panics and loudly screams out her name, Lady Mary. But her complexion is rapidly turning a terrifying sickly pale. The doctor examines her and comments on the poison she caught. This is actually a highly lethal toxic substance. So what do we make of this cliffhanger? Even he doesn't fully understand its origin. It looks like an incredibly rare poison. Stick with me, here we are jumping into a desperate scene as the doctor honestly explains his effort. He admits he has already done absolutely everything in his power to save her. But without finding an antidote immediately, she's probably not gonna survive this. Hearing that brutal truth, Brian just stares down at the floor. Is that really it? Outside, Kim Giang rests his chin on his hand, visibly stressed. Can Mary actually pull through this? Ariel is also sitting completely silent, lost in some heavy thoughts. He turns around, looking totally confused. I mean, since she is a noble, shouldn't she be getting treated in some massive luxury mansion right now? Why exactly is a high-class lady lying half dead in a rundown, shabby inn like this? Erin just closes her eyes and calmly explains it to her. That was all in the past. Things are completely different for her now. Hearing that, he instantly panics, totally caught off guard. Wait, what do you mean? Kim Giang gets super agitated, firing off questions left and right. What exactly are you saying? Why would you say she's not a noble lady anymore? I have clearly seen Brian calling her my lady and serving her every single need like a loyal knight. Erin finally speaks up to confirm the cold truth. Yes, Mary definitely originally came from the nobility. She also emphasizes one more detail. The fact that Brian is her incredibly close and personal servant is absolutely correct too. He is sitting right there in the sick room watching over Mary. Erin explains their current brutal reality, but all of those fancy privileges are buried deep in the past now. Now, pay attention here to this flashback to young Brian. Capturing a carriage changes absolutely everything. A prison carriage and a squad of armed soldiers march up to take him away. High above them, a military flag is fluttering wildly in the wind. It is not just Brian. Two other captives are inside. A guy with a heavily scarred face glances over at him. After a while, the scarred guy finally speaks up. Hey kid, what kind of crime got you thrown in this hellhole? But Brian just sits completely still, staring outside without saying a single word. The guy rests his hands behind his head and sighs. Fine, if you do not want to open your mouth, whatever. Prisoners of war like us are all heading straight for the guillotine anyway. Do our actual crimes even matter at this point? Suddenly, heavy footsteps start approaching from the outside. A soldier sighs with pure disgust, complaining loudly to his partner. Honestly, wouldn't it save us so much trouble to just execute these dirty criminals right on the spot? He finds this whole escort mission completely exhausting and annoying. It is just a massive waste of their time and effort. A guy who knows the system glances over and explains, we still have to keep up the bare minimum appearances. He even throws out a wild theory, who is to say any of these guys actually committed crimes bad enough to die for. They simply do not have the time to hold a proper trial. So they just tie everyone up and deal with the whole group at once. The guards just keep gossiping endlessly about this whole messed up situation. You and I both knew a trap was coming right about now. Just as he finishes speaking, a deadly arrow violently pierces straight through a guard's throat. It is an ambush! Inside the dark carriage, Brian's eyes instantly snap wide open. A totally different flag with a new crest appears. This mysterious squad is charging down on horseback from the mountain. The leader's face is completely covered up. A sharp sword is brutally ripped right out of a bloody fallen body. The entire escort squad is completely wiped out in the blink of an eye. A soldier finishes the bloody job and approaches the leader. My lord! He steps up to ask for orders on how to handle the surviving captives. How exactly should we deal with these people, sir? A guy sitting on a horse turns around to suggest something. Father, these guys are all nothing but dirty criminals. I think we should just go ahead and execute them all right here. The other man in the middle trembles in fear hearing that cold sentence. Footsteps of an armed soldier start approaching them. That is where we leave it. Brian suddenly looks up as Riley quickly puts hands on his hips. Interrogation time. What exactly are your crimes? The guy completely panics, scrambling to make up excuses. Please, sir, we are just absolute nobodies trying to scrape by. Seriously, sir. We just loot dead bodies on the battlefield to survive. Now watch closely, because things instantly go crazy here. A sword suddenly flashes out of nowhere. He doesn't even hesitate before completely chopping the guy's head off. Riley looks super annoyed just glancing at the mess. The dude next to him leans back in absolute terror as the severed head slowly rolls right up to his feet. Yet Brian stands there without a single flinch. Riley finds this kid's deadpan reaction seriously confusing. You there, kid? You look completely devoid of life. Basically like a candle that has already burned out. Genuinely curious now, he questions the boy. Do you honestly have zero lingering attachment to living this life? Riley expects a good answer, quickly demanding, what exactly is your crime? Tell me right now. Brian's eyes just go pitch black. Zero fear in this kid. He actually snaps back. If you are going to kill me, just make it quick and clean. Brian even guesses what the man is thinking. Or are you actually scared to strike down some nameless kid when you don't even have a reason? Riley stares down at him, staying completely silent. A soldier suddenly rushes forward, totally furious. You little brat, how dare you act so insolent? But an amused smile actually appears on the commander's face. This kid really has some serious guts. Even Brian seems pretty confused by Riley's unexpected reaction here. He raises an eyebrow, visibly impressed. I'm starting to like you, and here is the part you and I need to watch. A crazy idea hits Riley. You actually seem like the perfect little gift for my youngest daughter. He immediately spins around, barking out a new order. Throw this guy into the carriage right now. Someone nearby looks totally caught off guard, softly calling out, Father! Meanwhile, Brian's mind is racing with absolute panic. Wait, so I'm really about to live the rest of my life as a slave? My life has literally hit the absolute rock bottom. Cut to a steaming bathtub already prepared for him. He sits down, finally soaking and actually relaxing. Brian is just beyond exhausted, totally bewildered by everything. What the heck is actually going on here? We then get a transition showing this ridiculously massive, gorgeous palace. A maid dramatically covers her nose, scowling in pure disgust. Are you seriously planning to meet the young lady looking that filthy? She furiously barks out a demand. Absolutely not happening. Move it right now. Go wash yourself up this exact second. So yeah, that is exactly why he is scrubbing down right now. Brian looks up at the ceiling, genuinely shocked. Since when do slaves get hot baths? This kind of VIP treatment feels way too luxurious. Or maybe these nobles just have way too much money to burn? But then, reality hits him hard. Wait, a young lady? Handing over a criminal like me to her? That's seriously reckless. Now, you and I are probably wondering what this young lady looks like, right? Let's check it out. Right before going inside, someone gave Brian a very strict warning. Listen closely and remember, you must never do anything disrespectful to the young lady. The guy even threw in a super dark threat. If you try anything stupid, simply dying won't be enough to pay for it. Brian feels so drained, just completely annoyed and tired. Endless nagging is literally making his ears ring, but suddenly, a loud announcement echoes through the room. Our lady is arriving. From up high on the staircase, Mary steps down, tilting her head. So, is it really you? She sounds super hyped to finally meet him. Are you the person my father said was a special gift just for me? Brian is totally stunned by Mary's actual appearance. She's incredibly tiny. She points her finger straight out, instantly turning super arrogant and critical. Father said he picked you up from somewhere, but honestly you look so scruffy and have zero style at all. He drops his gaze down, desperately trying to hold his anger back. She's already so annoying. She just giggles brightly. Trust me, you and I are gonna love what she declares next. Stick with me here. Since this is a gift from her father, she decides to treasure it. He stands there completely helpless. Then, Mary crosses her tiny arms and demands to know. Hey you, what is your name? He just coldly fires back his real name. My name is Zach. She flips her hair and immediately turns her head in absolute disgust. Such a painfully ordinary and low-class name. This brat really knows how to drive people crazy. He instantly gets annoyed. Is he seriously doomed to spend his entire life serving a spoiled little kid like this? He frowns hard, desperately trying to keep a positive mindset. You have got to be kidding me. That is just not happening. Suddenly, Mary just blurts out a random name. Brian! He stands there totally frozen and confused. She points right at him and declares that from this second on his name is Brian. Suddenly, she completely changes her tune, opening her hand with the most innocent, friendly smile ever. I look forward to working with you, Brian. He just grimaces at her, completely lost. My name is Brian now. He clearly absolutely hates that brand new name. That name honestly sounds way too cheap and incredibly lame. But here's the thing. You and I know humans are incredibly good at adapting. Instead of wandering the cold streets, stealing and robbing to survive, he now spends his entire day doing simple household chores he had literally never touched before. No more choking down rotten, leftover scraps of food just to stay alive for one more day. The older woman warmly greets him with a really gentle smile. Welcome back, go find a comfortable seat. Now, he gets to enjoy fresh hot meals made entirely for him. So about what happened today? He no longer has to deal with people holding deep grudges or assassins trying to kill him. From a distance, a maid quickly runs up to him, calling out his name. Here, he is completely surrounded by people full of genuine kindness and warmth. She gives him a bright, radiant smile. Let me give you a hand with that. Even though he has only lived this kind of peaceful life for a few short months, he actually feels incredibly relaxed and natural, almost like he belonged here all along. The friendly maid checks on him, asking if he's doing alright. But Brian just keeps his cool guy act, saying it is not too bad. She looks right over at him, observing him very closely. Out of nowhere, she touches his forehead just to check his temperature, then she gives him a really sweet compliment. She tells him he looks way more handsome with his forehead showing. Brian instantly gets flustered and turns away. What the heck? Why would she suddenly say something like that? But I know you saw this coming. This peaceful life has one massive headache attached. Total silence, until Mary suddenly screams at the top of her lungs for Brian. He bursts through the door asking what she needs. Mary is sitting there hugging a teddy bear. Pouting her cheeks, she instantly drops her demand. She's suddenly craving some candy and sweets. This is his curse. She literally summons him anytime she feels like it. Could she not just ask the regular maids to do these tiny chores? Mary boredly turns her head away, looking super annoyed as she explains. Her mother completely banned her from eating sweets, and none of those boring maids will listen to her. Brian cringes, frowning in hesitation. Mary just stays on the bed, puffing her cheeks in a massive pout. Finally, he just grabs his face and lets out a massive defeated sigh. So exhausting. Cut to later, the table is fully stacked with macarons. She kicks her legs happily on the chair. Mary devours every single bite in absolute pure bliss. Then, she drops a huge compliment for him. Brian really is the absolute best. Shocked by his stealth, she just has to ask him, how did he sneak past those heavy guards? Trust me, you and I will find out next time. When she discovers the truth, she totally suspects him. And honestly, you and I are probably wondering the exact same thing right now. Before coming here, was Brian actually some kind of legendary master thief? Slowly but surely, he changes completely. He's no longer that street rat Zed struggling in the dirty alleys. He has officially become Brian, the deeply loyal servant of the Chatillon family. While he's working hard, a loud voice suddenly calls out his name. Brian! Hearing his name, he immediately turns his head to look. Mary, completely grown up now, walks down the stairs with massive news. She tells him her father finished his military campaign and is finally heading back home. Hearing this, Brian breaks into a very soft, happy smile. This is the absolute best news they have been waiting for all this time. Right on cue, heavy footsteps echo down the hall. Riley has finally returned from his successful campaign. I am home, he announces. Catherine greets her husband with the most gentle, loving smile. She is just so incredibly relieved to have him back safe and sound. He steps closer to them, looking totally relaxed now. Returning to his warm home after so long feels absolutely amazing to him. Suddenly, a familiar loud voice rings through the air. Father! She cries. Seeing her running toward him, Riley lights up with joy. My sweet Mary. He pulls her into a massive, loving hug. My precious daughter is growing up so fast. I swear I almost did not recognize you for a second. Right after that, Riley looks up and notices someone else. Brian stands respectfully in the back, giving a very polite, welcoming nod. Now watch this carefully. Two guys step up from behind, joking that she only has eyes for her dad right now, totally ignoring the rest of the family. Mary instantly gets super excited seeing both of her brothers. My big brothers made it back safely too. She cheers happily. Leon flashes a gentle smile and immediately starts complimenting her. Mary, look at you. You have completely turned into a proper young lady now. Jenan, on the other hand, ruthlessly teases his little sister. Sure, you are a young lady, but your height is still as tiny as a little chestnut, right? He playfully pushes down hard on her head. Have you been staying healthy and doing well here? Mary screams in annoyance, trying to swat his heavy hand away. You are completely messing up my hair. Stop! Meanwhile, Leon suddenly places his hand on Brian's shoulder, giving him a deeply grateful smile for his hard work. I truly appreciate how well you have taken care of my little sister, Brian. Brian looks up and replies with a warm smile. Of course, young master. Riley turns to everyone and makes a loud announcement. Alright, it is so rare for our whole family to gather like this. Let us feast together right now. Plates of food are quickly brought out and set on the table. Everyone is seated, ready to dig in. Riley cuts into a massive piece of meat, eating and laughing the whole time. And Mary chats away, telling him endless stories. You can see pure, unbothered happiness radiating directly from Leon's face too. You can feel the pure joy in this room, bro. Watching this wholesome scene, even Brian genuinely smiles too. After the big meal, the servants quickly clear away 8 empty dinner plates. Right at that moment, Riley walks up from behind him. Hey, Brian. He turns around, a little surprised. My lord, is there something you need me to do for you? With a suddenly serious expression, Riley makes a request. I want to have a private chat with you. Brian freezes, looking slightly confused by this. The scene cuts to the cool late night, a liquor bottle resting on the seat. The two men sit next to each other in total silence. Riley closes his eyes, bringing up memories from the past. Time flies. You have been living in this mansion for exactly 5 years now, right? He gently checks in on his life. So, how is it? Do you find living here comfortable enough? Hearing this, Brian closes his eyes to think it over. He turns his head to look over, a brightly radiant smile on his face. My lord, everything is so absolutely wonderful that I have zero complaints here. Riley laughs. He already knew the answer just by looking at him. The difference in this kid is night and day. Trust me, you are going to love where this bond goes next. Alright, stick with me. His look right now is totally different from that half-dead face 5 years ago. He is a completely new man. Ryan felt nothing but pure, absolute gratitude toward Riley. All of this is entirely thanks to your amazing grace, my honorable lord. He flashed a very happy smile, vowing never to forget this massive favor. You literally saved my worthless life and handed me a real second chance. You are the exact reason I finally found a real purpose to keep living in this world. But Riley's eyes suddenly shifted. Right then, out of nowhere, he dropped a really strange question that changed the mood entirely. So about that life you owe me. Riley's face turned absolutely terrifying as he spun around to ask for his input. Are you truly willing to use it to serve my ultimate dark purpose? Brian's face instantly froze up in pure shock. Meanwhile, a cold breeze quietly swayed the tree branches in the tense background. Just outside the massive estate, heavy horse hooves approached. A massive crowd had finally tracked them down to this very spot. Suddenly, a hand shot high into the sky. The incredibly ruthless Jeffrey started barking brutal orders at his armed troops. His eyes were overflowing with pure hatred and dark determination. Now watch closely, because tonight is about to turn incredibly dangerous for everyone. Brian sprinted inside like a complete madman, kicking the door wide open and screaming, "My lady!" Mary woke up in a total daze, grumbling, "Is that really you, Brian? What is going on that you are barging in here so late at night?" He frantically urged her forward. "We need to evacuate right this second to find safety, my lady." She just sat there staring back at him, feeling incredibly confused. "Why are you suddenly saying such crazy things?" Meanwhile, Riley just smirked, his intense gaze locked onto his target without blinking. That old man had finally put his twisted master plan into full motion. A loud echoing yell rang out from a distance. "Jeffrey!" This guy was Jeffrey, the absolute head of the noble association in the Central Kingdom. He growled harshly at him. "Did I not make myself extremely clear already? This is our only path to survive." But you and I both know that is a lie. Leon looked completely disgusted right now, while Jeffrey just stood there proudly outside the city gates. He fiercely raised his blade up high and shouted, "You call this a way to survive?" His eyes were sharp and dead cold. By acting like absolute cowards, betraying our master to be lackeys for the Empire, but then Jeffrey suddenly stopped right in his tracks. He lowered his voice completely. "I honestly respect your hardcore ironclad loyalty right to the bitter bloody end." However, right after that, Jeffrey yelled out super loud, "Not everyone has the sheer guts to pick an honorable, glorious death exactly like you did." Meanwhile, somewhere else, two figures were sprinting at breakneck speed, hands gripping tight as they bolted through the dark. Mary was still totally lost, frantically running right behind Brian. She screamed in sheer panic, "Brian, where are you taking me?" He did not slow down at all. Instead, he ran even faster and roared back, "We have to get out of here immediately!" Brian frowned deeply, his eyes burning with absolute, unshakable determination. Flashback to a much more peaceful time. Two figures were just sitting around and talking quietly together. Very soon, an incredibly violent and bloody massacre is gonna happen right here. Riley leaned in. "When that fateful dark moment comes, I wanna trust you completely." Ryan realized it immediately as he spoke. "Please protect and take good care of Mary for me." He frowned in concern. "But what about you, my lord?" Riley just firmly advised, "Focus entirely on doing your own duty and do not worry." Snapping back to reality, he was facing an intense life-or-death showdown against Jeffrey. Riley's cold, sharp eyes were dead set, completely refusing to ever back down. "As for me, I am going to fully honor my heavy duties as a true leader." His massive sword was raised high through the thick, heavy smoke. Riley smirked. "Do not tell me you plan to use these petty soldiers to arrest me? Trust me, you and I know this fight will be legendary." He smirks. "Like hell that's happening!" to face off. "Stick with me. This is where it gets wild. To fight the kingdom's absolute strongest, did you really think he came empty-handed?" Seeing this setup, Riley absolutely freezes. A massive, towering figure steps right out of the shadows. He is completely panicked. "The 12 Zodiacs? Are they here?" Riley screams, "Jeffrey, you dare bring enemy generals right into the freaking capital!" Instantly, the entire city is swallowed by an ocean of flames. Everyone scatters, getting slaughtered by enemy soldiers. Mary stares at this nightmare, absolutely stunned, eyes wide open. A maid now lies dead in a massive pool of blood and fire. Brian just grabs her and runs. Seeing Mary totally paralyzed, he turns back and desperately yells at her, "My lady! We have to leave right now!" Brian spins around, grabbing her by her frail, trembling shoulders tightly. He roars at her, "There is zero time left to hesitate. We must go. My lady, please snap out of it." Mary looks at him, stuttering, completely paralyzed by pure fear. "Brian, what on earth is happening right now?" But Brian gives no answer, just tightly dragging her away by the hand. The two of them make a mad dash. He throws the door wide open. "Linda!" "Are the horses ready to go?" But inside the room, a chilling, dark figure is just standing there waiting. Hugo's eyes are ice cold, his face shadowed with a totally terrifying look. Brian stops dead in his tracks. He sees the murdered maid lying right there. The guy is still holding a blood-soaked sword. Well then, he finally speaks. Watch closely, here is where it gets crazy. Hugo lifts his blade. Looks like my timing is perfect. Do not look so terrified. He narrows his eyes, giving a cold warning, because all of this will end so fast. You won't even have time to feel the pain. Suddenly, a massive strike slashes toward Hugo from behind. He reacts lightning fast, ducking straight to the ground. All three of them open their eyes in pure shock. The man who just showed up leaves everyone stunned. Renan! He stepped in and just saved Brian and Mary's lives. He points his sword straight at Hugo, then glances back with a calm voice. Brian, get Mary out of here right this second. Brian completely panics, calling out, "Second young master." Renan barks back, "Why haven't you left yet?" Brian is now totally terrified by his intense screaming. Mary cries out in absolute agony, "Big brother!" Brian squeezes his eyes shut, trying hard, enduring the pain just to protect the girl in his arms while she keeps desperately reaching out toward him. Crying for Renan, his back stands tall and unmoving. Hugo rests a hand on his knee, smirking coldly. We both saw that coming, right? He was so incredibly annoyed about chasing some escaping small fry. I never expected luck to smile upon me like this. He looks up straight in his direction, getting to meet the Chatillon family's second young master, the most legendary knight family in the entire Central Kingdom. Hugo completely mocks him. What an incredibly rare chance to actually clash swords with a Renan Chatillon. Renan frowns, firing right back. That is right, I have heard your infamous reputation for quite a while. He glares straight at him, voice totally dead serious. Hugo Pagari. Meanwhile, somewhere else. The horse is galloping away at full speed. Brian and Mary have temporarily escaped to safety. She hugs Brian's back tightly, crying without stopping. His thin lips are pressed tight, eyes staring intensely straight ahead. By now, the horse has run a decent distance from the blazing castle. Later on, in a quiet place, a fire burns continuously. Brian shows obvious exhaustion and deep worry all over his face. He sits right on the bed next to Mary. Suddenly, a very loud voice echoes. The investigation results from the Hunter Guild have finally been sent back to us. Those words snap him right back to reality, eyes wide open. On the other side, Anne rushes in, totally gasping for air. They actually found clear traces of dark magic right on the corpses of those monsters. Kim Giang and Ariel focus hard, listening closely. It is highly likely this is a massive plot by those beast tamers. He sighs. So it was really caused by beast tamers? What do you and I make of this? Alright, stick with me here. Everyone is stressed, but Brian just watches them from above. They quickly notice him standing there and everyone freezes in pure shock. Erin looks completely terrified. What did the doctor say? Is Mary going to be okay? Brian just stares back at them, his eyes totally unreadable and deep in thought. His gaze shifts over to Kim Giang. Then Brian slowly turns his attention toward Ariel, locking eyes right on her too. Brian furrows his brows tight. Could the two of you please do me a massive favor? Meanwhile, somewhere else entirely, a soft laugh echoes out. How strange is that? Gold lipstick on thin lips forms a beautiful, sinister smile. An elegant hand gracefully rises up. Her voice is dangerously soft. I personally provided you with absolutely everything you needed for this. From unlimited manpower down to the monsters and all the deadly poisons. I even picked the absolute worst possible time for you to strike. The man before her turns pale green. She sits there with her legs crossed, coldly calculating, while the terrified man just violently shakes. I made sure every single detail was perfectly prepared for this mission. Now pay attention. This mystery human pulling the strings is none other than Aquanes Callis. She smirks, completely unbothered. So how in the world did you idiots still manage to fail? The man drops straight to his knees in the dirt, crying and begging. Please forgive us! We are so sorry! Out of nowhere, some random mage just stepped right in and totally ruined our entire plan from the inside out. He shakes like a leaf, his face twisted in pure, desperate panic. Master, please just give us one final chance to make this right. Aquanes looks down at the pathetic group on the ground with pure mockery. You really want another chance? Let me think about it. Some extremely creepy sounds start echoing out. She cuts him off, ice cold. I genuinely feel like I have already been way too generous by giving you enough chances. Hugo crouches down and starts digging around the pockets of the fallen soldiers. So what exactly is your next move? He manages to pull out a weird blue potion. He casually pockets that blue potion. Are you seriously just gonna give up on this deadly death zone entirely? Aquanes smiles wickedly. What else can I do? The damage is already done. She observes the fallout. Their surprise ambush has totally fallen to pieces. The territory defense system is absolutely going to be tighter than ever before. Aquanes just continues speaking. Plus, you and I both know the Hunter Association is going to speed up their investigation now. She taps her pale chin deep in thought. If we make a direct move ourselves right now, I am afraid we will alert the whole association. Aquanes shifts her cold gaze over. But even more importantly, she instantly remembers the guy named Ares. I completely refuse to do anything that might upset Lord Asco Pierce at all. Aquanes touches her lips with a soft chuckle. Whatever, this was honestly just a little side gig. I joined purely for fun anyway. I should probably just start getting all my things together. Time to pack up and head back. Hugo watches this whole scene unfold in total silence. Then he finally speaks up. As for me, I actually still have a few unfinished things to handle around here. A wicked smirk crosses Hugo's thin lips, his eyes turning dangerous. He immediately pictures Mary. That is one really old debt that has not been completely settled yet. Suddenly, the other guy gets brutally punched to the side, spitting out a massive mouthful of blood. He violently crashes and rolls across the ground. A mocking voice echoes out loud. Right now, my mood is honestly not looking too great. Brian casually dusts off his shoulder. So let me give you a little piece of advice first. His eyes turn razor sharp. You better spill the absolute truth right now, if you actually want to keep breathing. Kim Giang rests his staff on one shoulder, looking over at them with deep concentration. And that's where we leave it. Captives kneeling everywhere and Ariel just watching it all unfold. Alright, stick with me here. The captured man screams, swearing he literally knows absolutely nothing. He claims his crew has never even laid eyes on any goblins or shady beast tamers. Brian growls, telling him to cut the lies. His gaze is just dripping with pure disgust. He points his heavy blade right at the guy's throat. For rats who closely monitor every single movement in and out of this territory, there is zero chance you simply miss. A massive army of monsters and mages, he spits out the vicious threat, isn't lurking in the shadows to rob people blind. Literally your entire profession? The terrified guy stammers, barely able to speak. I swear on my life I know absolutely nothing. Why would I risk lying to your face? In a fatal situation like this? Brian tunes him out, raising his sword to strike. Who knows? How could I possibly even begin to understand the twisted, filthy thoughts inside the heads of absolute trash like you? Watch closely now. The guy braces for death, but right before the blade actually connects, a hand suddenly grips Brian's arm tight. He snaps his head around as Giang raises his voice. I think torturing this guy is more than enough already. He firmly reminds him. Keep in mind, my one and only mission here is securing the antidote for Mary. Giang looks down at the bleeding, pathetic man. I have absolutely zero intention of taking part in these savage murders or brutal torture sessions. Brian violently shoves his hand away, growling out a warning. I guarantee, you won't ever need to get your own hands dirty with this filthy work. Giang fires right back. Standing by and watching without intervening is basically no different than pulling the trigger yourself. Hearing that, Brian completely freezes in silence. His glare is practically burning with raw killing intent. Then he finally softens, closing his eyes. Brian drops his voice. Get out of my sight, now. The thugs, thrilled to be alive, instantly scramble over each other to escape. Despite backing down, he's clearly still furious and snaps back with a question. You and I both feel the tension here. Are you satisfied with your mercy now? Brian is losing his patience. Because of your little stunt, our chances of finding those beast tamers just got a whole lot slimmer. Giang frowns in confusion. Wait, what did you just say? He replies. They are definitely the only ones holding the exact antidote we need. Brian yells out, while you're standing here playing the noble hero. Our young lady is still literally facing death every single passing second. Without hesitation, he swings his massive blade straight toward Giang. Meanwhile, Ariel is still sitting perfectly still with her eyes closed. Suddenly, her eyes snap wide open. I found it. A slight smirk crosses her face. Ariel confirms that someone just triggered a magic spell. It's super close by, just over in another section of this very forest. Ariel is panting heavily, totally out of breath. Giang turns around. Hey Ariel, are you? He sees her literally shaking and completely roast her. Your stamina is honestly terrible beyond my wildest imagination. Ariel heavily leans on her staff, face pale. I'm completely exhausted. You guys just go on ahead. Hearing this, Giang feels entirely helpless. Oh man. Are you seriously that weak right now? Brian immediately spins around. If that's the case, I'll be going ahead. Giang shouts after him, hey, are you seriously gonna just ditch me here? He shoots a cold glare back over his shoulder. I literally cannot waste another single second. And honestly, you and I would be exactly as speechless as Giang right now. He turns back to the mage and yells, or if you're too tired, want me to carry you? Alright, stick with me here. Kim Giang just realized Ariel is completely gone. Pure panic hits him, lips physically shaking. Scene cuts to somewhere else. A hand slowly wipes a blade with a cloth. The shiny sword reflects Hugo's face perfectly, looking just like he did 5 whole years ago.
His voice is ice cold. Never expected that, Chantilly brat.
Who escaped back then to be hiding out in a remote place like this? A wicked smirk crosses his thin lips. He looks absolutely sinister right now. What an absolutely unexpected stroke of luck for me. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a pair of feet is casually strolling along. It is Ariel walking completely alone. She lets out a huge sigh of relief. Her eyes pop wide open. A thought crosses her mind as she hears a strange noise echoing around her. I think I might be totally lost right now. She glances around the area. Is my terrible sense of direction seriously acting up at a time like this? I need to hurry up and find a way back to Giang right away. Suddenly, the bushes nearby start rustling loudly. The sound of someone moving catches Ariel's full attention in an instant. She spins around to stare hard. Dark clouds have already completely covered the sky above. A hand pushes the branches aside. Brian is also walking all by himself. Suddenly, he stops dead in his tracks. A voice calls out, asking who he is. That glowing sword rests across a leg. Brian's eyes go incredibly wide in shock. Now watch closely here, he just ran straight into Hugo. Brian blurts out his name in shock. The guy just watches him silently. His face is completely cold and totally emotionless. Hugo finally speaks. "You actually know me?" Brian's face turns pale as a ghost. His hands clench so tight they shake, blue veins popping out. Hugo continues talking. "I never expected someone would actually take the initiative to come looking for me like this." He slowly stands up. But whatever, that detail doesn't really matter anyway. Brian stands completely frozen in his spot right now. He slowly glances over to the side. Look at all the dead bodies around Hugo, scattered across the ground, red blood staining everywhere. Brian quickly demands an answer. "Did you single-handedly orchestrate every single part of this absolute massacre right here?" His voice drops cold. "From making those beast tamers attack our group a little while ago, all the way to ruthlessly slaughtering every single one of those guys right here on this spot?" Hugo just stands there listening to him ramble, then lets out a scoff. "Why does any of that even matter? Because the way I see it right now, you are absolutely dying to take my life right now." Hearing that, Brian completely freezes up in shock. Hugo gives an insanely wicked smile. "Fine, that works perfectly for me. Because right now, I am absolutely craving the feeling of killing someone with my own hands. I know what you are thinking. Where is Ariel?" Well, Kim Giang is frantically running around screaming her name. "If you can hear me, please just answer back." He is getting incredibly panicked at this point. He cannot believe it. In the blink of an eye, she has completely vanished without a trace. Is she really the type of person to be this ridiculously absent-minded all the time? He glances behind him. On top of everything, I am also super worried about Brian. Walking off completely alone like that, if he foolishly tries to take on everything by himself, facing those beast tamers or literally anyone else. His eyebrows furrow tightly in deep frustration as he carefully thinks the whole situation through. Things are going to get extremely messy. Cutting back to the other side, a huge blade swings high into the air. Brian raises his weapon, ready to strike hard, but he completely misses his hit on Hugo. Refusing to stop, Brian relentlessly unleashes attack after attack right at his face. Meanwhile, Hugo just keeps dodging effortlessly, but then, in a split second, and trust me, you need to see what comes next. Brian leaves an opening, gets slashed, blood dripping straight down. "Alright, stick with me here." Hugo smirks, finally remembering him, as he stumbles backward in shock. He glares right at Brian. "You are that loyal dog always following the chattering girl around, aren't you?" Hugo points a finger, chuckling. "My memory has always been pretty top tier, you know." His eyes turn icy cold. "Word on the street is your precious lady got hit with some nasty poison?" He reaches inside his coat, if that is actually true. He pulls out a glowing blue bottle with a wicked grin. "You must be here looking for this exact thing." Then Hugo just bursts into manic laughter. "Is this not the golden opportunity for you to save your lady and get your sweet revenge all at once? Am I right?" Seeing Brian completely stunned, he gets even more of a kick out of teasing him. "Is your heart just pounding with pure excitement right now?" Hugo casually sets the bottle on a rock. "Do not besojaste now." "Honestly, it would be no fun for me if your lady died from some random poison." He threatens him openly, after surviving that epic tragedy years ago. Watch closely now. To survive all that just to die from a cheap goblin poison arrow? He stares intensely at the small bottle. Hugo tilts his head back and closes his eyes. Ending a story like that is just incredibly boring and completely ruins the fun. And then that terrifyingly demonic smile creeps onto his face. Brian absolutely snaps, charging forward with pure rage. "You absolute bastard!" But the guy just stands there, totally relaxed. "I will definitely give you points for bravery and loyalty." But Hugo does not even bother to dodge the incoming attack. "It seems like you still do not know your own place, do you?" Brian raises his blade high, eyes burning with killing intent as he rushes in, but with one flick of his sword, Hugo easily knocks the weapon away. The blade crashes heavily straight into the hard dirt. Hugo speaks with a chilling tone. "Did you seriously think you could fight me using that cheap piece of garbage toy?" Brian's hand is shaking violently out of control. Blood drips down, staining the ground beneath him. Brian realizes his fatal mistake. He let his anger make him completely forget everything. He suddenly remembers exactly how terrifyingly powerful the monster standing right in front of him truly is. This is Hugo Pagati, the former vice captain of the Ares division, part of the strongest 12 Zodiac Knight Legion in the Empire. He also goes by an incredibly twisted nickname. They call him the Psychotic Battle Maniac. That title comes straight from his absolutely insane obsession with one-on-one death matches. You and I have seen crazy, but his obsession with fighting is literally beyond belief. Even when a massive battlefield is already completely won, he still insists on dragging the enemy commander out for a brutal battle to the death. The simple fact that a lunatic like him is still alive today just proves that he has never tasted defeat in a single one of those deadly duels. Brian just stares blankly forward. Hugo breaks the silence, asking, what is wrong? He teases him playfully. Where did all that blazing fighting spirit from a minute ago go? Brian lowers his head in defeat. Let me tell you a little story to help you get your fighting spirit back up again. Hugo's thin lips curve upward into another wicked smirk. This scar on my left eye is exactly what Jen and Chaturin left behind when he tried to save you all. He laughs coldly. I have to admit, his skills were genuinely top tier and impressive. Fully worthy of the strongest knight family heir in the entire kingdom. That was easily the most glorious, spectacular clash I have ever experienced. Hugo narrows his cold eyes. You really should have been there to watch the light fade from his eyes as my sword pierced right through his heart. Such a beautiful sight. And trust me, we both know it is a waste that only I got to see it. Alright, stick with me here. Hugo announces his master plan, starting right after he finishes off our guy today. Brian just freezes in pure shock. Hugo says he will march right down to that village, just to tell your little lady every single brutal detail of what happened. They both stare at that little blue vial. He says once he hands over the antidote to her, he will demand a one-on-one duel. Hugo's face twists into pure, absolute malice. Then he will watch the little girl charge at him in an absolute blind, raging frenzy, just so he can slowly carve her to pieces like some kind of twisted artist sculpting away. Working on his masterpiece, he wants to make her suffer, completely. The slowest, most agonizing pain imaginable. How does that sound? Pretty tempting and fun plan, right? But Brian snaps back, yelling that it is never happening. Brian raises his blade, ready to strike. He growls through his teeth. No way in hell is that crazy stuff playing out. Because you are the one dying right here. Now watch closely. Brian instantly blasts forward with insane speed. He closes the gap lightning fast, his eyes glowing with pure, unadulterated killer intent. Brian charges straight at Hugo, swinging his heavy blade down with everything he has got. But this guy just effortlessly dodges it. Without missing a beat, Hugo delivers a nasty horizontal slash to Brian's waist. Blood sprays everywhere from his waist, and Brian goes skidding violently backward across the dirt. Still refusing to back down, he immediately throws a desperate punch right at Hugo. But Hugo just casually launches another brutal slash right across Brian's legs. It is a deep cut, blood spilling everywhere. Brian squints in intense pain, staring back with pure absolute rage. He spins around and leaps backward to create distance, heavily gasping for air. Seeing Hugo acting completely laid back just pisses Brian off more. What the hell are you even doing? The villain asks casually. You wanna know what I am doing? Hugo drops his tone. Is it not totally obvious by now? He mocks him like this is just a game. I am simply making sure that my little toy does not break too fast. Brian roars back, you absolute bastard. Hugo totally cuts him off. Oh, do not worry so much. I am honestly starting to get pretty bored here anyway. He steps backward into a stance. Turns out, Hugo was just winding up to strike. Brian is caught completely off guard, eyes wide. A massive vertical slash tears right through him. Blood erupts wildly from all his limbs. Brian is left in absolute stunned shock. How could his attack possibly reach this far away? Meanwhile, over on the other side, we see a really cute rabbit sitting there. Ariel quietly watches. And honestly, you and I are probably wondering what is going on. She ponders deeply. Seriously, what kind of creature could even leave footprints behind like this? Ariel stares at the giant trucks right in front of her. These massive steps are heading straight toward the peak. She looks down, carefully piecing things together. Are these monsters from the Beast Tamers too? Ariel leans on her staff and stands up. Whatever, it should be totally fine. Since the mansion already has soldiers and hunters stationed there, she starts walking away. I need to hurry up and safely regroup with the rest of my team. Suddenly, a strange sound echoes from behind her, instantly grabbing Ariel's full, undivided attention. She snaps around to look. I will finish off this monster fast, then go find them. I am completely lost anyway, so finding the others right now is gonna be tough. Flipping back to the fight, a hand slams into the dirt, blood endlessly pouring down. Hugo taunts him. I really have to hand it to you for your sheer determination. He flashes a freezing cold smile, even though this looks way more reckless than brave. Hugo brutally mocks him without a single ounce of pity. Since you are not fun to play with anymore, I will grant you a painless death. Brian grinds his teeth, realizing he was way too careless. So what do you and I think happens next? Alright, you and I are jumping right into the madness. He charged in completely blind, fully aware he was wildly outmatched in raw power. Absolute rage completely blinded him, pushing him to make reckless moves he would normally never even think about pulling off. Deep down in his gut, the painful truth was already clear. A guy like him had zero chance of winning against this absolute monster. Realizing that fact just pissed him off even more, pushing his fury way past the enemy standing right in front of him. He was furious at his own pathetic weakness, and sick over the fact that he literally couldn't protect a single thing. Hugo spoke up again. Goodbye then. He raised his massive sword high, flashing a sinister smile. Without another word, Hugo brought the blade crashing down to finish the job. But suddenly a massive crash echoed out. A bloody rock went tumbling rapidly across the dirt. Hugo snapped his head back to look, while Brian quickly glanced over. Kim Giang had stepped in just in time to save his life. The villain clutched his bleeding face. Hugo growled, "Who the hell are you?" Gian fired right back. "I was just about to ask you the same thing." "Now pay attention here." Gian stared him down with pure determination. "What exactly are you? And why try to kill Brian?" Brian screamed out in panic, "Gian, get out of here now!" The second Brian finished shouting, Hugo had already raised his leg high. He landed a brutal kick directly on him, sending Brian crashing hard onto his back. Gian yelled out his name, "Brian!" Hugo growled, "How dare you interrupt such a sacred divine duel?" He ground his teeth together in pure fury. Gian looked visibly annoyed by this. "What kind of absolute nonsense are you babbling about?" His eyes went wide as Hugo suddenly unleashed another devastating slash right at him. But Gian managed to dodge it, leaning his body far back. The villain looked genuinely shocked by this. "He actually dodged that?" Gian gritted his teeth, thinking, "What the hell just happened here?" Gian continued to dodge the powerful aura slash, shouting out loudly, "What kind of crazy stunt are you trying to pull?" Suddenly, a blinding flash of light erupted. Hugo quickly leaped backward to create some distance. He looked a little suspicious. Was that magic? Hugo furrowed his brows in deep thought. No, calling that trick magic just didn't feel right. His hand was actually trembling slightly. But with power like that, maybe it was just pure, overwhelming physical strength at work. Gian spoke up again. "I know what you're thinking, and Gian knows it too. With that lethal first strike." His eyes stayed sharp. It was obvious this guy had zero intention of just playing around. Hugo let out a smug chuckle, a bizarre weapon paired with an incredibly freaky kind of strength. He glanced over at Brian. "Seems like you just made friends with a pretty interesting guy." Hugo loudly cracked his neck. "Well, whatever. I was honestly just starting to get bored anyway." Then he flashed an incredibly scheming and thrilled smile. "Let us see exactly what level your abilities can truly reach in a real fight." After saying that, Hugo lunged forward to attack, bringing his massive blade crashing straight down. But Gian managed to dodge it lightning fast. Hugo refused to give up, gripping his sword tightly to swing again. The kid instantly bent backward to evade the heavy blow. That wildly sharp blade just kept coming with relentless, aggressive attack. However, Gian utilized absolutely every skill he had and dashed forward to counterattack him. This actually stunned Hugo. Where the heck did this absolute monster even come from? He stared intensely at the boy. His reaction speed is completely insane. Hugo still stayed completely cold, thrusting his sword straight ahead, his eyes widened in shock. Not good. Hugo quickly brought his sword sideways to block Gian's incoming slash. The real problem here was not just his insanely fast reflexes. Gian knocked him back with one strike, sending Hugo stumbling hard. He slid backward, his heavy footprints leaving deep, clear marks straight into the solid dirt. Hugo furrowed his brows tightly. The true life-threatening danger was standing right in front of him. He stared intensely at Gian. That insane physical power. "So what do you and I make of this?" Hugo knew one clean hit, and it was over. One wrong move and I am dead. And this guy? Flashing a crazy, chilling smile. Hugo grins like an absolute maniac. How long has it been since I felt this cornered? Stick with me here, this is a battle where survival is actually on the line. Seeing that twisted look on his face sends a massive chill right down Kim Giang's spine. He instantly realizes the guy's raw killing intent has completely shifted gears. Stomping his foot hard into the ground, Hugo suddenly pivots his entire body weight. Baring his teeth with this absolutely unhinged look in his eyes, Hugo starts laughing like a psychopath. "Please, don't disappoint me now!" He launches a brutal horizontal slash straight at Kim Giang. The raw power behind that strike is insane, sending fresh blood spraying out from his wounded limbs. Now, it all comes down to his dynamic visual acuity, which is the rare ability to track fast-moving targets with absolute pinpoint accuracy in real time. For a pro baseball player, this is basically the ultimate, most critical skill you can have. And Kim Giang, he's famous for his god-tier ability to read ball trajectories flawlessly. The exact amount of time he needs to analyze an incoming pitch, calling a strike or a ball takes him a mere 0.15 seconds. Now pay close attention because that is exactly why he cannot understand what just happened. Through his expert eyes, that incoming attack definitely looked like a ball. Hugo smirks coldly. "Color me impressed, kid. To actually dodge my lethal strike in a split second, like that takes some real reflexes." His eyes look completely malicious, way beyond my expectations. Meanwhile, Kim Giang tightly clutches his heavily bleeding stomach. He frowns hard. Damn it. There is zero point in dragging this fight out any longer. Kim Giang starts analyzing things. This guy's technique and experience are on a totally different level. Let's pause for a second. Facing a monster like this, does he even have a real chance of winning? A heavy baseball bat drops to the ground. We flash back to Kim Giang sitting quietly, gripping his head in utter frustration, sighing heavily, struck out once again. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls out, "Don't beat yourself up so much over this, Kim Giang." He looks up to see an older man standing right there. Sorry, coach. His coach quickly reassures him. It wasn't because your swing was garbage, but because that opponent was just completely freakish. A middle school kid throwing southpaw at 130 kilometers per hour is insane. Hearing that, Kim Giang still feels pretty down about his terrible performance. Honestly, I couldn't see a single way to hit that pitch. It was way too fast, and I am terrible against good lefties. Hearing this excuse, his coach just cracks a small, knowing smile. He calmly calls out, "Listen, Giang, there is literally no pitcher out there without some kind of blind spot." Holding up a baseball, he explains, "You have to watch the habits they leak right before the windup." His voice gets really serious. From his resting stance all the way to the strike zone he targets most. Kim Giang listens closely, absorbing every single word like a sponge. Just study your opponent's movements carefully enough, and you will eventually see those hidden cracks. Those old words of wisdom echo loudly in his mind right now. In standard weapon combat, a right-handed fighter always keeps their right foot planted forward. His eyes immediately lock dead onto Hugo's strange posture. That means the right arm and right leg lead the attack. But this guy, he is standing with his left hand, taking the lead instead. Leading a fight with your left arm and left leg at the front is usually reserved for a righty, using a really long-range weapon right out front. So a head-on fight is basically suicide. But here is what you and I need to watch for that blind left eye. With vision damage like that, his depth perception has to be completely thrown off balance. He probably used brutal training and pure instinct to make up for it. Stick with me here, because that slanted stance and blind left eye means one thing is absolutely inevitable. A massive blind spot right where he simply cannot react in time. That rock I threw earlier hit him purely because of this exact flaw. If I can exploit that blind angle for just one clean strike, then winning this is actually still possible. Hugo launches another slash. Pure frustration burns in his eyes seeing Kim Giang easily dodge it yet again. Our guy just grits his teeth hard. Kim Giang charges straight at Hugo, but the guy is no amateur. He effortlessly sidesteps the incoming attack. Kim Giang's eyes go wide. Gotta strike that blind spot right now. Hugo quickly snaps right back to his deadly focus. Wasting absolutely zero time, he swings his blade in a brutal horizontal slash. Kim Giang bends extremely low to evade it. As long as I know which hand holds his weapon, the attack angle will be obvious. But then Hugo is just one step ahead. He launches a vicious straight kick right into his head. Kim Giang gets kicked facing the sky, blood violently spraying from his mouth. He falls flat. Now watch this carefully. Hugo sneers. "Looks like your strength is completely draining out." The baton clatters uselessly down onto the ground below. Hugo mocks him. "I will admit, your physical potential is pretty incredible." Kim Giang struggles up, wiping his bleeding lip. Hugo sneers, "But that is as far as you go." Hugo keeps rambling. Just a street brawler with zero real technique or actual martial arts skills. Little did he know, Kim Giang just grabbed the sharp rock lying right nearby. Radiating pure killing intent, Hugo charges forward for the kill. Enough of this, but his massive slash is quickly dodged by our boy. Kim Giang spins into his stance. With gritted teeth, he grips 3 sharp rocks and throws them straight at Hugo's smirking face. But the guy is quick enough to dodge backward to the side. Hugo growls. Nothing but a bunch of cheap parlor tricks. But by pure luck, one rock actually manages to damage Hugo's remaining good eye. You and I both know he won't waste this. Kim Giang attacks while Hugo is temporarily blinded. When his vision finally clears, he sees Kim Giang charging at him with absolute, pure killing intent. Hugo's eyes bulge out in a fierce, totally savage glare. Blood sprays mid-air, dyeing a huge area red. His scarred face looks utterly demonic and genuinely terrifying right now. Kim Giang stares right back at Hugo with a dark, intensely determined expression that is totally impossible to read. At this point, both of them have stabbed their weapons crossways into each other's shoulder. However, his enemy's sword has actually pierced completely straight through his chest. A look of pure, genuine panic finally hits Hugo's face. Eyebrows furrow tight, that blade is still firmly lodged deeply inside the chest. Blood spills from Kim Giang's mouth too. Hugo smirks wickedly. "Very nicely done. I acknowledge your effort at least." Suddenly, Kim Giang's hand grips that deadly blade tight. Still smiling, he simply says, "Let us end everything right here and now." Kim Giang calls out Brian. And trust me, seeing Brian appear behind him preparing to raise his deadly knife with absolute blazing killing intent,